licensed? Are you licensed?
Oh,
Yes.
so sorry. I don't know if you can see me or not.
You?
Okay. Anyways, nope. I've had my license for quite a while now.
Oh, yes. When you turned your camera on, I recognized you.
Oh.
Yeah. But this is your first Ignite, right?
Yes, that's my first time.
Okay, I love it. I love it. And then next is Dan. Tell us, are you licensed?
No, not yet. Working on it. Should be in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Nice, nice. Okay, it's exciting. Welcome to the world of real estate. Okay, Rusty is in the room and helping me on the back end. And Rusty, do you want me to sit right there? It doesn't matter. We can put a Zoom, but Rusty is our. I always mix it up because you're a general manager, right? Yep. And whenever I think of that, I'm like, she doesn't run a fast food restaurant, but kind of. So she really does run this show and a lot of other shows, honestly. And she's very inspirational. We're excited that she's here with us. And then Ron, why don't you tell us about you? You're almost licensed, right? Can you hear me? Ron? Okay, well, I know him and he's almost licensed. You can. Unmute maybe. And then Alex, tell us about you. Are you in school or are you licensed?
I'm still taking the course. I'm up to halfway through week 18 out of the 27. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Hey, exciting. So halfway through, that's exciting. And then Mel, tell us about you. Are you licensed? Are you in school?
I am licensed. I've been licensed for a little over a month.
Yay, welcome. Welcome. It's crazy, right? Real estate's crazy. And then I know Natalie, you just got here, but will you introduce us? Just tell us, are you in school? Are you already licensed? Kind of tell us where you're at in your real estate career.
Yeah, I'm still doing like the online real estate course to get ready to take my exam.
Perfect. Okay, so almost licensed. So we have a good are you gonna fix this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna log in right here on my laptop just so that it's easier than having the screen up every time.
Perfect. Okay, I love it. So if you haven't did you guys all should have got an email from Bradley today? I think it's coming from him that has the digital version of the Ignite book. Did you guys all get that? So we have that digital version available for free. I also have these professionally printed, very beautiful, high quality binders with the whole book in it. We are not making money off these. They costed us $40 to print, so that's how much you'll actually pay that man right there. This is Chris Bradford. If you guys haven't met him, but I'll send him an email and he can get with you about paying for it. So if you want one of these, just let me know. Does anybody want one right now? Okay, you do. Perfect. And then if anybody wants one, just let me know and I'll get it to you.
If you're a physical note taker, you're gonna want to print a copy because as you can see, there's kind of a lot of content.
Yeah, there's a ton of content in here for sure. I love it. Okay, you want one? You okay? And I know $40 sounds like a lot for a binder, but it's really what we had to pay to print them. You want to make this open?
I think I am now.
Maybe it needs to be done one here too. And call them right this. Oh. Okay. So if you did everybody get one of these, a 411? Maybe you didn't though, right? But you have one. You have your actual one. So who doesn't know what a 411 is, and online you can answer us too, and these will get emailed to you in about 20 minutes. If you don't have one, who does not have a 411 already, or who doesn't know what it is? Okay, you don't have one, okay. You don't have one. Who does have a 411? Probably you. I know Tim does. I see him every week. Good to see mine. You see Rusty? You have one, Jesse?
I have.
Oh, what happened? Tell us about it.
So, Kaylee and I would meet every week and update our 411s, and it became kind of a to-do list. So, we have shifted. So Kaylee still has one that she maintains, but I fell off the bandwagon. And so I had one for like 6 months of last year, and I kept up on it. But again, it kind of lost its purpose because I wasn't revisiting it except during our meeting. So.
Yeah. Yeah, the 411s are built to be a business plan, like a whole year business plan, basically on one page. You're gonna update it every month. So that's the 1 year is a 1 in the 411. You're gonna update it every month. That's also a 1 in the 411, but you're also gonna update it every week, which is the 4 part of the 411. So we know there's some months that have more than 4 weeks, but it doesn't make sense to call it a 4/5. So you want to be updating it every week, which is the weekly meeting you're talking about. So you want to set aside time in your calendar each week to update and review your business plan. But ultimately, you're going to be looking at this every day. Like, what do I have to get done today? And we don't necessarily want it to be a task list. So we don't want it to say, I'm trying to think, like mail out postcards or something like that. We want it to be, I mean, that can be an item on it, but you don't want to turn it into a task list. So if your annual goal, do you guys all know your goal in real estate? What you want it to be? Okay, so we write that in the top for the year goal. And if you want, you can either write your annual goal because we're close enough to the end of the year and we're going to do business planning in like a month and a half, I'm sure. And you can go off that number, or if you want to just write it for the 4th quarter of this year, like what do you want to do from now till the end of the year?
If you haven't already set an annual goal, I would just suggest what do you want to do from now till the end of the year.
From now till the end of the year. And then we'll talk about what you need to do in September. So taking Ignite would be something you're doing in September for your real estate business to help you meet that real estate goal. You're gonna get an email. Ignite is every Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 7:30. You're gonna get an email every night after Ignite every email, you're gonna get an email after every night that's gonna have some homework in it that we're gonna go over. So sometimes it's gonna say, hey, you need to talk to your people today, or you need to review, or anything you talked about in this, there'll be links to those resources and things like that. So we wanna make sure that you're reviewing those emails. And then every Tuesday, we're gonna look at your 411. So bring this this Tuesday will be our weekly 411 meeting for the next couple of classes. In addition to, we'll do some other things before some of the Ignites to help you guys really get into action in your real estate business. So if my goal for the rest of the year was to close 2 transactions between now and December 31st, what do you think I should do, including, so I'm gonna do Big 10 Ignite, what else should I do to be able to close 2 transactions? Does anybody have anything they would do? Even online? Make phone calls, lead gen. Yeah, lead gen. So you want to lead gen by making phone calls. So how many phone calls do you think you need to make to close 2 by the end of the year?
My goal for phone calls might be 10 each day.
10 a day to close 2 for the year? Yeah, that could be. Do you know what a lot of agents think? That 2 people are going to call them before the end of the year. Somebody tell me, who has that happened to? Right? Like, no, we have to be in control of the relationship and we have to be reaching out to them. So I've been talking about the market and just what's happening in the market, but also what's happening in the mindset of realtors. And actually was just having this conversation with Pressie earlier today, but I was like, we have to get real to get right, which is, and this is the book Shift. It's just my book, it's Spiral Down. But it's a book written by Gary Keller, Dave Jenks, and Jay Papazan from Keller Williams. And his very first tactic to win in a difficult market is to get real to get right. That means getting real about the market stats, but that also means getting real about our job. And I know they're going to talk about that in Ignite. I know our job is to know the market. I know our job is to know the contracts. I know our job is to help people buy and sell real estate. Well, ultimately, our job is to be a relationship builder, to be a best friend maker. We've got to stay in consistent communication with people. And we think that they're gonna call us and they're busy, right? They don't wanna call us for the same reason we don't wanna call them. So nobody's gonna get the deal if we're not taking control and calling them. So, if you wanna sell 2 houses before the end of the year, you're gonna intend Ignite, and then, I would say there's probably 80 working days between now and the end of the year. There might even be 75, because of holidays. Yeah, that's the get real to get right, right? Like, there's really not that much time. So now I know I've got to talk to 750 people if I'm talking to 10 a day, each working day. And I didn't work if I didn't talk to my 10 people that day. Like, I don't even have a job. We wake up every day looking for a job, and we have to get our own interviews with people. So if you need to do that, we gotta reach out to the people. What are ways, so talking to 10 people, who's afraid to do that? Yeah, so 2 people that tell the truth. Honestly, it's scary, right? What's the scariest thing about it? Okay, rejection, that's very real, yeah. Do you think they're rejecting you?
No, the idea that I'm presenting, I know that, but it's still a rejection period.
Do you think if somebody asks you, hey, do you want sparkling water or tap water at a restaurant, and you say I want tap water, were you rejecting the sparkling water?
No.
You were making a different choice, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's not rejection, maybe they're just making a choice not to make a move right now. And that's not about us.
Yeah.
It's not anything about us or what we're presenting, it's just a choice they're making. So, but rejection is very real. That doesn't take away the fear of rejection. So we just have to realize we're gonna hear a lot of no's for sure. What else is scary about making phone calls?
I would say coming off as genuine rather than salesy,
Mhm.
because I feel like a lot of the time, regardless of who you're talking to, I feel like this is especially with friends and family, because you can call them and say, like, hey, how are you? How have you been? But if you haven't talked to them in a while, it's easing into that conversation of that I am a real estate agent now. And I feel like the second that you mention that, people say that's why you're calling.
Yeah.
So just that in mind.
It reminds me of Amway. Remember that? I'll date myself here. I literally, it's like, I so don't want to come across like Amway.
Yeah.
It was so negative.
You know, next week's team meeting, we're gonna talk about the nuances of communication, how to overcome.
Yeah.
And you can
Shameless plug.
Just kidding. Business opportunity.
Yeah, and we're gonna cure cancer, and we're gonna build temples and everything, we're all coming together.
Right. So, how much time do I have? Oh, perfect. You wanna play a game? You wanna do this with me? Yeah, you, Caleb. Hey, I don't know you. I met you one time, real life. I met you twice, counting today,
Yeah.
right? Like in person.
Yeah.
Real life. So, Caleb, how's it going? Tell me about your life. What's been going on?
Right now I have just been working really hard. Currently working through my real estate licensure course, hoping to be finished in about a week.
Awesome. So you're going to real estate school.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. What else is going on in your life?
I don't know. I've been planning a vacation, so hopefully I can make that work, and then just connecting with my friends, hanging out with people in my free time.
A vacation, where are you gonna go?
I'm hoping to go to the Canary Islands.
Canary Islands, I don't even know where that is.
Yeah, so it's off of Africa on, let's see. I don't actually even know what side.
That's okay, you can lie, I don't know where it is either.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, what are you gonna do there?
Go to the beach, hang out there on the specific island that we're on. There's a big volcano, and a couple of national parks, so I'm hoping to climb that if I can, or just do some hikes and explore around there.
Do people live in Africa? Do they live on Canary Island, or is it just?
I'm sure some people live there.
Okay, I'm genuinely asking.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it some?
So kind of like Hawaii, but people live on Hawaii, right?
Yeah,
So, would you think it would be beneficial for you? Would it be fun for you when you're on vacation if you had an app that could show you what homes are selling for on that item?
yeah.
That'd be kind of cool, right? It's totally free. I'm not gonna track you.
Yeah.
But do you want it?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. I'll text it over to you. Did I sell you?
Yeah.
Did you
yeah.
feel sold?
No,
Right?
I don't think so.
It's
No,
like,
that's a good
because
way to
it's
do that.
providing value, it's doing something, you're going on vacation.
Right.
And typically your people are not gonna be in real estate school when you're
Yeah,
calling
right.
in. So just having, have you guys heard of Ford?
Like the company.
Car?
car brand.
Yeah, like a car. Do you know what it stands for?
Found on road dead.
Yeah.
Fix or repair daily.
Wait, direct Ford. What'd you say?
Fix or repair
Fix it
daily.
repair daily, right? Yeah. So, did you know there is a lot of acronyms in real estate? And we wanted to 5 times on it, Keller Williams. So we've done that too, but there's a real estate acronym also called Ford.
Fiduciary.
Ooh, we're gonna do that one too. There's an acronym called Old Card. But, for the fiduciary duties. We are gonna do that one too. But Ford is when you're talking to people that you want to talk to, that you know, or maybe you don't know. But the first thing we can talk about is their family and friends, right? We can talk to them, right? Is it-
Yep.
Yeah, their family and friends. So, if I know you and I know your mom, I forget, I need to stand in the middle, but, hey, like, Levi, well, I do know this about Levi. Levi, how's your wife?
She's super pregnant right now.
You guys had a doctor's appointment yesterday. How did that go?
It was good. Yeah.
It was good. Did you, or is it, do you know, or are you finding out?
It's a
gonna be
boy, yeah, got to see him on the screen, all wiggling around in there.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Do you already have a name?
Yeah.
What's his name? Wyatt. I actually did already know that, but. His name is gonna be Wyatt. That's exciting. When's she due again?
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. Cute little Sagittarius, baby. Cute little Sagittarius, baby. That'll be fun. Yeah, exactly, right? Are you gonna buy your baby Christmas presents?
My wife would like to put it up.
Tell me, do you guys think you might need a bigger house once your baby's born?
Shoot,
Does it already feel like that with all the babies?
there's a chance.
Yeah.
Starting to run out of room.
Awesome. Do you, so, and then I'm like, oh, are you being serious or are you just kidding? No, I mean, like if I'm talking on the phone.
As far as, I'm
Do you
sorry.
want a new house?
Oh, yeah.
You are? Where would you want to move?
Well, we'd be looking at Syracuse.
Syracuse. Awesome. Okay. Do you want to see what it would look like to what you could afford? Like, do you want to talk to a lender to see what a payment would look like?
Yeah, probably good.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna connect you with my preferred lender. His name is Tommy. He'll just set you up so you can see like what a payment on what house would look like. And once we narrow that down, then we can start seeing what houses look like in that price range to make a decision if it's the right time for you to move. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay. So I just brought up his family and then I was able, it was easy because I knew he had what are those called? An event where something was happening. A life event. So I knew you're having a baby. So people move for lots of reasons, but family expansion is one of them.
It seems like when you just keep talking, or excuse me, when you just keep asking them questions and just keep making it about them, there reaches a point in the conversation almost every time where it's like a little bit awkward, where they feel the need to ask you how you're doing. And that's when I feel like.
Yeah, if they don't know you're in real estate and you're like, hey, what's new in life? And they'll be like, oh, I'm planning a vacation to the Canary Islands. What's new with you? Hey, I just got done with real estate, so I'm gonna start a business. Right, that's a good one. So the O in Ford would be occupation, so you could talk to them about their job. Too, like, hey, so especially, I know Dustin, he talks to lots of people about work, right? Cause he's working at FedEx and you've been telling everybody at FedEx that you sell.
Yes, I
real
have.
estate, right? Yep. And so, we can talk to people about their job, like, hey, how's your job? Are you still working at FedEx? And you'll be like, yeah. I'm like, hey, I remember last time you lived 30 minutes from there. Have you ever thought about moving closer and shortening your day? Whatever, because you work at FedEx since
Salt Lake.
Salt Lake, but you
Yeah.
live in Syracuse,
I do.
so you really do live 30 minutes.
But I'm actually getting a job at Miller.
Yes, right, so then he
Will
would
be
say, well,
changing my,
actually,
my
I'm
commute.
moving, yeah. So, he wouldn't wanna move, probably, right, so we can talk to them about their occupation and see about that. Does anybody wanna guess what the R is? So we now know it's not fix or repair, what does the R mean?
relocate.
It's not religion, joking. Okay,
Recreation.
yeah, recreation. So, did you guys see me talking to, Caleb about recreation? Right, he's gonna go on a trip. That's like his plan, so, so what would D mean? Does anybody know? Dreams or goals, so some people call it frog or Ford. I learned it as Ford, but it could be dreams, or if you wanted to say frog, it could be goals. Like, so hey, what are your, goals this year in your life? Like, where are you going? What do you want to do? And then I like to do what's called a Ford sandwich. So I'll talk to them about one of these things, and then I'll bring up real estate, and then I'll talk to them again about one of those things, so it doesn't feel as salesy. So that's, I know I'm going, oh, I got 2 minutes still. So what else is scary? So not feeling salesy, rejection. Is anything else scary about why you don't make phone calls? Why you're afraid to make phone calls?
Remaining TCPA compliant.
Yeah. That's what you're scared of?
No, I'm just
That's the office. We got enough things to stop us.
Yeah.
It's really easy. It's really easy to remain TCPA compliant,
Yeah.
right? You just check the do not call list. Just call people you have permission to call. Hey, anything else anyone scared of? Not making a phone call? Are you scared you won't know what to say? Or does everybody already know what they're gonna say?
Well, I think I know, and then you start a conversation and then I think, oh, that didn't come out as smooth as I didn't in it.
That's
So
why
I've been trying to
practice.
practice talking in front of your, or family members.
Yeah.
You know what I often hear is when they actually have interest in the conversation and then, no, they don't know what to do. Oh, you're interested, you wanna buy, sweet, and then you're lost, right? So that's when the time to perform is at hand, the time for preparation passed. And so that.
The worst time to think about what you're gonna say
Yep.
is in the moment you're saying it. But don't let that stop you from making phone calls. Cause I mean, we were just talking about this today.
better than never.
You're gonna stumble over those phone calls, but guess what? You're gonna get better. On the next one for sure.
So at
No
that
great way to
point,
get past that.
That's exactly where I'm going.
So when coming to the point at which you're on the phone and you've begun the conversation, and they make an inquiry. And you don't know where to go from that point, that is a good point to set up an appointment.
Or a follow-up phone call, right? If they ask you a question, like, hey, I don't know, what's my neighbor's house selling for? And you're like, oh, I don't know, I didn't know, I didn't look it up, I didn't memorize it before I called you. What a great question. Let me check into that. Can I call you back in an hour? Or can I call you back? What time would be a good time for me to call you back? Can I call you back at this time? You don't have to know all the answers. I think the number one script you need to get comfortable with knowing is, what a great question. You know what? I haven't had that one come up before. Neighbor's house is a little different. You're gonna look at, but right. Like if Tim asks me something and I'm a new agent and I freeze because I've never had that. I've heard it before, or I remember it coming up, but I don't remember what it is. I say, what a great question, Tim. Do you know what? I actually haven't had that one before. Let me check with my team and I'm gonna get back to you by tomorrow at 5. Would that be okay? What a great question. Tim doesn't know if that's the most common real estate question in the world and I'm a total idiot because I don't know it. Or if he's the biggest genius in the world and he just thought of a question that no one else has asked me. What a great question. I haven't had that one come up before.
We'll go with genius.
You're right. Yeah, I love it. Another thing I like to say, especially if they're asking me about someone's home value, is, oh my gosh, I'm so excited you brought that up. I don't have that information right in front of me, but let's do this. Why don't we do this? Why don't I come bring you your home value and your neighbor's home value and what your neighbor's selling for, and just try to set up an appointment. It's so scary. Who knows how to price a house? Yeah, a couple of people, but it's scary, right? Who's 100% confident in their house pricing abilities? Yeah.
So even just learning yesterday, or We could direct them to our site, which would also give them the mortgage calculator.
You could do that.
Oh, no, that wouldn't have anything to do with
Mhm.
their actual.
Well, they do have, our website does have a landing page that they can get their home value,
Mhm.
but what that does is send that to you, and then you still gotta research and get their home value.
You get the
Yeah.
clerk.
Yeah,
And even I know a lot of you have ones that you build into your websites or whatever, don't, like, that's gonna say this is an average and you need to reach out. Don't rely on the estimated home values. You're basically you're acting like a Zillow in that case.
and I don't want you to find any way to avoid having a conversation.
Yeah,
with
why
them.
would you avoid? a
I want you to
conversation?
find every way to have the conversation with them. If you're not confident in pricing, though, seriously, practice a CMA on a house, any house. Send it to me through my email and I'll review it and I'll give you back feedback. I'm not gonna price a property, if you're in coaching, you hear this all the time, I'm not gonna price a property for you and give you the answer. You're never gonna learn, right? I need you to practice pricing it, make all the mistakes, send it to me. I'll email you back some feedback and have you redo it and send it to me, except you, just kidding.
When I first started, so I, all the people you know, I would find out their addresses and I would do a study on their neighborhood. And that's how I would do it. I would study all of them. And then I would use that as a way to call them to.
Yeah, if you're studying the neighborhood, don't just study the neighborhood to not call them. Study it to call them
With the purpose.
and
Yeah.
give them that value. That's
Yeah.
valuable to them.
Been studying your neighborhood, would you like to know what your house is worth? And just say, I haven't been in your home, so I'm just taking a stab. The best case scenario, blah, 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 worst case. And just, it's a good intro and, I always got really, really good responses by that. It led to business.
Yeah. So, for the first homework today, can everybody, if you have MLS access yet, if you have MLS access, I know not everybody does. But can you guys all pull a CMA on, I don't want you to do it on your own home, because guess why? Our homes are always nicer than everyone else's. Yeah, we make up the prices, and your sellers are gonna do the
We're
same thing.
totally attached to it.
Yep. Your sellers are gonna do the same thing, so figure out if it's your cousin's home, if it's your aunt's home, your grandma's home, your friend's home, your neighbor's home. Whatever, I don't care, just pick any home. And then do the CMA on it, and then you can email it to me, I'll write my email here, and I'll review those, and then. On Thursday, we'll set up a time. It's AllisonBrown@kw.com with ALYSON. You guys will set up a time to take that to the person, but I'll review the CMA first. For you, so who won't do that? Okay, you lied, he can't, who else? Anyone online, is anybody not gonna do it?
That has availability to do so.
Yeah, that can do it. Okay, perfect. So we're all gonna do it. So I'm gonna hold you accountable to emailing it to me, and we have a roll going around. Who hasn't signed that?
I think everybody's signed up.
Okay.
And online, if you guys didn't see my message, if you're driving or something like that, you didn't see it, I need you to put your name and email into the chat box as well, so that I can count you as attended today.
If you attend 80% of our classes, which is 8 of our 10 nights, you get a graduate Ignite. Won't that feel good? Yeah, like it'll feel good. You'll actually know your job. So I'm gonna pass these out last. Who hasn't got a 411? You guys didn't bring them, right?
Online, we're gonna email to you.
Yeah, online, I'm gonna email to you as soon as I sit down. I'm gonna introduce both of you guys right now together. Okay. I introduce you, Leslie. Sure. Okay. Perfect. And you guys, are you running your business together? So you can do a joint one, like, and then assign out like, it's Natalie, right? Natalia, and then assign out like what's in Natalia's jobs and what's Brittany's job.
Allison, does that have the personal goals as well?
It doesn't, I just printed this from the Ignite packet. You can split it and do, which is what we do. We have business goals and personal goals. So you can draw a line here and put what your personal goals are too. But ultimately, it doesn't need to be a 25 item task list. It needs to be what's the most important thing you're gonna get done this week, or what are the most important things you're gonna get done.
And we're gonna talk about that a little bit too. Today's session too is your 80-20 rule.
Yeah. Hey, this is Rusty Edwards. Hi. And this is Jenny Erb. I'm gonna ask them, I know I went way over, I didn't mean to. But, 1 minute of questions, rapid fire. How long have you been in the business?
17 years.
How long have you been in the business? 15. Where did you get your very first transaction from?
One of my best friends was buying her first home.
Was that an SOI?
SOI, my sphere of influence, it was.
What about you?
You guys remember those dumb coupon plugs, they stick down, they clip these dumb coupons?
Oh, and you like had a binder of coupons?
This lady was teaching a class, and was sitting next to this lady who was talking about buying a home, but the lady that she was gonna use as a realtor was annoying and dumb. And she was a teacher.
You were like, I'm not big and dumb.
I'd love to help you, and that was my first time.
So also similar to SOI, because it was a networking event you went to, right? And she met somebody at an event. Did you keep quiet about you being a realtor there?
No, I actually brought up the teacher, grants that they had at the time and, you know, short sales and foreclosures, so. I wasn't like, let me help you, I was like, did you know they had this for teachers? So I came from, you know.
How did you find out about those things?
Classes.
Weird. Okay, your SOI that you closed, did she come to you and ask you if you were in real estate?
No, she knew I was.
How did she know that?
I've been talking to people about it.
Did you call her and tell her you were in real estate?
I think I called her or I saw her, like, but we had a conversation around it. I was pretty vocal about being in real estate.
Yeah.
That's
a surprise.
I think I'm very vocal about being in real estate because I think that's the way to success.
That is the only way to
It's
success.
literally part of like what I
do.
do. I don't think there's anyone in my life that doesn't know I'm in real estate. I would probably put money on that.
Yeah, we're gonna dive deep into some lead generation stuff in future Ignite classes. But I really want you to be thinking about, you've got to work your SOI. And then you can pick 1 or 2 more. But I want you to dive really deep on those 2 to 3, and get really, really great at those before you add in something else. Because if you spread yourself too thin, you're not gonna master any of them. Okay, I'm gonna let these guys take it away. Okay, does anybody want a book for 40? These printed books are 40, or you got an email from Bradley with the digital copy.
And if anybody online wants a printed book too, just drop that in the chat. I'm gonna invite the people online to just, if you have a question, I'm gonna have you on mute because it's gonna be harder for me to monitor the chat when we're up here. So I'm just gonna ask you to unmute if there's something. One thing that I actually want to do really quick is we're gonna talk today, one of the things we're gonna talk about is going entrepreneurial and purposeful. And so I want to share a little video that the first time I saw it, like totally gave me like goosebumps because I loved it so much. And so I'm gonna share a quick video. Is this sound gonna work?
Didn't set this up, my friend.
Lines. Let's see.
It might work on here.
Oh, here we go. Wait. Wait, this is the wrong one.
You're not normal.
I'm not. No, this is the- no.
When you were a kid,
Stop
you
it.
still had a kid's imagination.
Stop it.
Did you?
Okay, it's the next one over.
It's this one. Sorry, guys. And online, can you hear it?
Hey, weird, we're human too.
Okay.
In 2023, Keller Williams turns 40. And sometimes midlife crisis is a good thing. Now, we aren't going to run out and buy a flashy sports car or a boat or some other toy. We aren't suddenly going to grow a mustache because we've already got one. But it is time for something big because that's what we do. It's time to tell the world who we really are and why we were called to this. T.S. Eliot said, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." We started as a small real estate company with a mission to become so trusted by our clients that we could become their realtor for life. But of course, Gary Keller taught us that to be realtors for life, we had to be more than realtors. We're coaches, therapists, mentors,
mind readers, and magicians. We're digital hunters with human touch. Wheelers and dealers who only use our powers for good. We are advocates and shoulders to cry on, friends to lean on, and confidants to trust. Together, we are the keys and the doors to new futures. This is the most important time in our lives, as a company, and simply as people. Your clients are feeling that same thing when they come to you. Their first homes, their final homes, newly married, newly divorced, empty nesters or more on the way. These are the most joyous, terrifying, and hopeful times of all our lives. Because your clients are jumping off cliffs and trusting you to build wings on the way down. We get to feel the thrill of that connection every day, if we do our jobs right. And if we do our jobs right, they aren't jobs at all. It is indeed a calling to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, and lives worth living. To be entrepreneurs. For 40 years, we at Keller Williams have deeply believed that entrepreneurship is the miracle of America. That in America, if you can dream it, you can build it. We're privileged to be in the business of buying and selling the most important and life-changing dream. The dream of owning a home of your own. It's not just an American dream, it's a dream shared around the world. At Keller Williams, we want to continue to earn the right to be the home of the dreamers, the doers, the entrepreneurs, the hundreds of thousands of you who have dreamed and built your own business, and in the process, built ours. We all know everything changes, but we will always champion you, the entrepreneurs who are powered by purpose, by energy and passion, teamwork, trust, and technology, integrity and culture, and trained in the rules of how we do it, but who also have the confidence to bend the rules in ways Gary never dreamed of, but hoped you would. You see, we aren't here to teach you our past, or to try and predict your future. We're here to help you create the future. We are reigniting a culture of celebrating entrepreneurial visionaries, because real leaders don't create followers. We create more leaders. We are teaching rebellion and inspiring invention. You're mavericks and world changers, and your relentless creativity, fueled by the competitive drive inside every one of you, will make the real estate models of today look quaint by the time you're finished. Everything we ever did was a risk. We started as a little underdog company and grew to be the largest real estate company in the world. You know what underdogs do when they get big? They look for bigger fights. Look for those fights. We want you to out Gary. Take risks, take heart, take action. All these things that you are for your clients, the coach, the therapist, and the key to a new future, we will redevote ourselves to being for you. There's a reason we want your name larger than ours on signs. When you look at your clients and think to yourself, it's not about me, it's about them. Well, it's not about us. It's about you. This is the most important time in our lives. You're living in a home built for entrepreneurs to thrive. And true entrepreneurs don't have to wait for doors to open. After all, we have our own lockboxes. Welcome home.
So I love that video because I'll tell a little, I'm not gonna go a lot into it because for a lack of time today, but when I got into the real estate industry, I got into it because I really did. Number one, it was something I was always pretty interested in. And number two, I had a really we're just gonna close that one down. Well, that scared me, sorry guys. I had a crappy experience with our real estate transaction, and also like from the minute I got into it, I really did believe in what this message is, that it's not about me. It's not about us, it's about our clients that we serve. And I actually think it's a really huge honor that we get to be in this industry and help people make the biggest financial decisions that they're ever going to make in their life. Just like it said, these are starting of life, these are change of life, these are end of life decisions. And we are a really important part of that. And so I care a ton about this industry. I will always fight for the professionalism in it and why we're here. And it's okay if, and I'm just gonna say it because like Allison said, get real, get right. It's okay if at some point you decide this is not the industry for you. That I'm gonna encourage you to find a partner to send referrals to. And let's help you find a different path. Because what we need is people that are passionate about this industry and want to thrive in their business. That's why I wanted to start with that video today. I know some of you are already in the business and you're here maybe re-sparking your career, right? So a couple things that we're gonna go through today in Ignite, if I can find my clicker and make it work for you. I'm gonna make this smaller. Again, online, I'm not gonna be able to see if you raise your hand or anything. So if you have something to say, just unmute yourself and chime in. So through Ignite, we're gonna teach you first how to become a real estate expert. That's gonna be the first 4 sessions of Ignite. The next one is gonna be all about lead generation. Those are gonna be the next sessions. We're also gonna talk about lead follow-up. And then last, we're gonna get into transactional. Okay, so that's kind of just what to expect throughout Ignite today. Today, we're gonna go through, and this shows you the full outline of Ignite. I'm not gonna dive into this. This is in your books. It's in the email that you got. So I'm gonna skip over some of these things because for a sake of time. Today's agenda, we're gonna go through this. We're gonna talk about a new way of thinking. We're gonna go over our culture. We're gonna go over why KW has value, your resources, your career vision, how you're gonna have success and what those daily systems should look like. And then we're gonna share some ahas at the end of it. Couple quick things. If you have questions or comments in the audience, I'm gonna ask you to speak loudly. Can you hear I'm projecting my voice a little bit? I'm not. Online, we have people who couldn't join us in person and they can't hear you if you're sitting in your seat not speaking. So if you have something to contribute, I welcome it. I think that this is where a lot of the best interactions happen is in this room, but I'm gonna ask you to stand up and project your voice because the more you get used to speaking to people, the better you're gonna be. So that's that. The other one, I wanna place a little ground rule. I'm putting this up here, it's called a parking lot. The reason I did this is because Jesse, are there a million rabbit holes we can go down in the real estate conversations through Ignite?
Do you know who's the queen of rabbit holes?
Me? You? You know, a lot of times where I could give you 1,000 different scenarios for what we're talking about. But the reality is, we don't want you to be here. These were originally designed, just so you guys know, these classes were originally designed for a 1 day. So we're gonna have 2 sessions today. These 2 sessions would have typically taken you 2 4-hour days plus 2 hours of lead generation together. 6 hours, 2 days. We're cramming all the content into 2 hours, basically 2.5 hours. So what I'm going to ask you to do, we're going to move fast. So some questions I'm going to say, hey, you got to hold that question. It's going to go in the parking lot. Okay. Some questions we're going to cover it. Jenny's going to write it for us. Some questions we're going to cover it in a future session. So I'm going to say, hey, great question. We're going to parking lot it. Why? Because we're going to cover it later. And then there's going to be some actions and some homework for you to take. Let me tell you one thing. If you don't do anything from other than sit in this classroom, is this class going to be helpful for you? It's all about the homework. It's the activity. We're not going to be making calls together, which is a lot of times where all the accountability comes from. But there are opportunities for you to make calls together. There's a collaboration space that I very rarely see people collaborating in and making calls together, right? So there's going to be some activities that you have to go do on your own. And if you don't do the activities, you will not get out of this what you should. You can, I'm going to use football analogy right now because it's football season, guys. And also my fantasy football team really sucked bad this weekend. We're going to come back next week. So we're getting a better game plan. But if all you do is sit in a training room and you think about what you're going to do, and you don't ever actually get in the game, it's like you're just reading a playbook in football. And I can read a playbook and I can understand every play. And I can think I'm going to be the best down football player since Tom Brady. Just kidding. I can say that, but guess what? The second I step foot on the field and I know the play in my head, I know exactly what's going to happen, but I get knocked down, it's gonna feel different. And I'm gonna adjust my game based on how it feels when I'm in it, not how I'm sitting on the sidelines. That's my, like, we're gonna get started. That's what I want you to do. If you take nothing else away, do the activities and get in the game, okay? Sitting in a classroom is not gonna get you in a game. It's gonna give you knowledge to help you get into a game. But that's it, okay? Anyone can do it, not everyone will you? This is a question from Gary Keller. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Not everybody's gonna do it, anybody can, I'm a firm believer. Anybody can be successful in real estate, but it is not easy. You have to actually put the work in. So that's what that is all about. I'm gonna have you look at the participant guide. And that I have this open in front of me just so that I can see what you guys see. But the first thing that we're gonna talk about today is the 6 personal perspectives. We're gonna dive into each one of these. What I will tell you is, again, this could be a whole session all on its own. Today, I'm just gonna give you a touch of what they are so you're aware of them. You're gonna hear us talk about them more. I think it's really important to dive into these and come from really a different level of understanding. So first and foremost is commit to self-mastery. Commit to self-mastery. Can anybody tell me what they think committing to self-mastery means?
Making yourself better daily.
Love that. I gave you a spoiler here, man. 1, 2, 3.
I think a lot of it is admitting that there are weaknesses to work on.
So true. Do you know what? I think that people who don't think that they have blind spots or weaknesses are the most dangerous kind of people in our industry, because they don't want to think they have weaknesses or blind spots. So I think that's really powerful, knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses. By knowing what I'm really good at, can I capitalize on what I'm really great at and leverage out the things I'm not great at? Right? I could have a partner, like if Jenny and I were partners on a real estate team, and Jenny's like, oh my gosh, you're so good in this part of the conversation, and I'm so good in this part. Could Jenny and I work together in a really great partnership and be way more successful together because we recognize strengths and weaknesses, right? So this is a big, big thing to me. Committing to self-mastery actually knows what your goals are. So we're going to talk a lot about goals. We're going to talk about a 411. We're going to talk about your GPS, which is your goals, priorities, and strategies. We're going to help you with all of those things, but you have to actually know what your goal is. So committing to self-mastery, you're committing to know your goals. You're committing to know your strengths and weaknesses. And you're committing to know how to work with both of your strengths and weaknesses to seek and master the necessary knowledge, skills, and habits to reach your goal. Anytime somebody's not having success, they have what's called a cash talk. To me, this is self-mastery, right? So I'm gonna warn you in advance that I'm gonna really try to not use any 4-letter words because we have littles, and I'll try to say earmuffs. But you're gonna maybe hear some things because I'm just real in who I am. So you're gonna hear some things like a lot of people call it a cash talk. I call it a come to Jesus. This is what it is. Cash stands for, and I'm not gonna write on board because let's take it and take 2. Is it a knowledge issue? So it's cash with a K. Is it a knowledge issue? Is it an attitude issue? Is it a skill issue? Or is it a habit issue? If Jesse's not successful, every time I can sit down with Jesse and I can say, Jesse, and I don't say I'm gonna have a cash talk. But I say, let's talk about what the problem is. Is it a knowledge issue? Is there something that you don't know that you should know? Do we know our goal? Do you know our strengths and weaknesses? Is it a knowledge? Is it an attitude? Has anybody ever had somebody that just, their attitude sucks, and no matter what happens, they're never going to be successful because they've told themselves the story that they can't do this. We're going to talk about mindset. Is it a skill set issue? Is it actually a skill that Jesse's missing that she needs to work on to be successful? Or is it a habit? What do you guys think the number one thing usually is? The habit. Habits. That's almost always. Almost always. It's a habit problem. Right? And all of them are fixable. I think the hardest 2 to fix are attitude and habit. Skill set and knowledge are the easiest to gain. So those are the 2 that I think are the hardest. So that's committing to self-mastery. The second in the 6 personal perspectives is committing to the 80-20 principle. This is called Pareto's principle. Has everyone heard of it? It essentially means that 20% of your actions are going to equate to 80% of your results. When we're talking about a 411 and we say, don't make your weekly things be a checklist, that's what I'm talking about. Your 20% should be what goes into your weekly list of things you need to do. If you're putting things on there like drop off dry cleaning, make a grooming appointment, call the dentist, unless it's an emergency. If you're putting those things on here, those are your 80%. That when you think about your 80-20, the way I want you to think about it is what is the 20% of activities that you personally must do? No one else can do that for you. It's very hard to leverage those pieces. Checking your email, guys, is in the 80%. That's not going to bring you 80% of your results. Having the calls and conversations, that's the 80-20 principle. By the way, fun fact, 80-20 is real and valid in so many areas of life, of course, real estate, right? 20% of the action and effort that you put into people you really care about is going to equal 80% of the results. In my opinion, because I'm really busy and I'm gone a lot, I don't think that it necessarily matters if I'm home every morning telling my kids to brush their teeth and put on their socks, right? Sometimes I'm going to be there, but am I having real great quality time with them at the dinner table? Am I taking them to spend one-on-one time with them? That 20% of our whole week is maybe 1 hour really well spent, but it's going to result in 80% of my relationship with that person. In our board of realtors, guess what? 20% of the agents do 80% of the business. And that's in the state. Here in Northern Wasatch, guess what it is? It's actually closer to 10% of the agents do 90% of the business. What does that tell you?
That you want to be
You
a
wanna
top
be a
two.
top two, right? But it matters, right? So getting really clear on what those activities are. That's where this 411 is going to come in really handy for you. Number 3 is moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful. So when we think about entrepreneurial, what I want you to think about is doing what comes naturally to you. So we were laughing earlier. I think Allison was making a little joke about like, did they know that you were in real estate? And I was like, yeah. She's like, why? And I said, because I talked about it. And I think that a lot of people could say like talking to people comes pretty naturally to me. It just does, right? It hasn't ever really been an issue. I was never the kid that was like, I wish we could just get her to speak up in class more. It was like, it doesn't matter who we sit her next to. She's going to make a friend and she's disruptive. Right. And so I knew that, but that's going to only get me so far. That's my natural ability. What I'm going to tell you is I think the last few years in this industry, Jenny, Allison, wait, anybody, feel free to chime in and correct me if I'm wrong, has lent to a lot of people being successful entrepreneurially because we were charming. We're so good at our job. And we believed that we were so amazing. But guess what? The market had momentum that was pushing us forward. So it's easy to hide in an entrepreneurial world, part of the world. Well, what happens when you're only in the entrepreneurial approach is you hit a ceiling of natural achievement pretty early. And what happens when we hit ceilings? We bump our head and it hurts. And so what do we typically do? We bump back down and we kind of live in this resignation space for a minute. Like, that was really hard. I don't think I can do that. I don't know what that looked like. And then we try to go up again. And sometimes we can start to think like, maybe there's just greener pastures. Maybe I just need to do this because I'm going to get leads here. Or maybe I need to not be in real estate because I should just go back to this, right? There's greener pastures sometimes. So we start to do that. And guess what's going to happen when our focus is on all the other shiny objects around us? Are we focused on our business? No, we are not. Then we go, okay, you know what? We'll amp them back up. And what happens again? Because we are charming and we've got this great natural ability and we bump up and we hit our ceiling again. And then it's a cycle that starts all over again for years. If we move into purposeful approach, we do what comes naturally, but we do it with focus. And we decide, you know what? We know the things we need to do. Spoiler alert, there's no shiny object. You just got to do the work. Gary Keller at mega camp that we just went to in Austin had a shirt that says, do the work. That's what it's going to take. Okay, so number one, we got to be focused. We got to be focused on what the right activities are. The 411 can come into this. There's a bunch of other activities that can come into it. And then we need models. And then we need systems. And then we have breakthroughs. That's how we get to the next level. Okay, it's not just about your natural ability. Your natural ability will only take you so far. I don't care how charming you are, how amazing you are, how great you think you are, what a natural conversationalist you think you are, or you aren't. It's only going to take you so far. And then you have to have the systems, models, and tools to get you to the next level. Is this speed okay? I know I'm cruising. Doing good? Okay. Number 4 is making learning-based the foundation of your action plan. So you're doing that right now in this room, right? We're being learning-based. If you're not learning, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're doing what? You're dying. If your business is not growing, your business is dying. There's no such thing as maintenance. That's just the reality. You're going to sell houses to people, and those people are going to be in a cycle, and they're not going to buy a house from you for another while.
So if you had a really great 2020 and you were like, yeah, I sold 40 houses in 2020 and I'm so happy about it. Are those 40 people likely gonna buy a house from you this year? No, not likely. You might have a handful of them that are investors. They're gonna buy investment properties. So if I'm not growing in my business and continuing to add to my database and lead generate and do the things I know I need to do, and if I'm not learning new ways to do that, then we're not actually moving into any next levels. Has anybody ever had one way that they've been doing something consistently? I'm gonna ask this for the people that are on Zoom or in the room that have a business. Are the exact same activities that you're doing today, Andrew, I'm gonna call you out actually.
I knew it.
I'm sorry, you're like, oh, it's coming forward. Are the same activities that you were doing 24 months ago working today as effective?
No.
No. So what do we have to do?
Learn and grow.
We gotta learn and grow and change our strategies, okay? That's what this is all about.
And just from Andy's perspective, we took 2 hours this morning and did something, and then we took 2 hours later in the day and adjusted it.
Pivoted, yeah.
And her results were 100% different.
And this is where, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit later, accountability and reflection really are helpful. And having an accountability partner that can help you, because if you just keep doing the same activity, and I see a lot of people in this business that work really, really hard, but they're not getting the results and they don't have anybody saying, we gotta shift a strategy. This isn't working, let's shift it. Do you wanna give an example?
Well, just having a coach and accountability partner. I mean, today was 100% different in one day than my business was yesterday. You know what I mean? And having that accountability there, and it makes a world of difference.
Well, it totally makes a difference.
For me, if I can give an example, I think it's like door knocking.
Cash talk?
Well, you did.
Yeah, I have those cash talk, yeah.
You cash talks.
You.
But no, I mean, I'm gonna send you screenshot like tomorrow at 10 when I'm done, screenshots of what I have done. And she texted me on Monday at 10 and was like, how were your calls? And I was like, well,
She told me that's when she was gonna make her calls.
right. And they didn't happen. And that's the worst feeling. You know what I mean? When you're
Yes.
seen, like not showing up for your business and not, being your full potential. And that's like seen and shown to you. And you're like, oh man,
Yeah, it
like
makes
I'm
a
better than
difference.
this. Right. Yeah, I gotta do
It
better.
makes a difference. I encourage you to ask yourself at the end of every day, if you could split yourself in two, and this one was the realtor that was coming to work today, and this one was your boss. And your boss walked in and said, hey, realtor, how'd you do today? Are you gonna rehire yourself tomorrow? Or are you gonna kick yourself out the door and say, thanks anyway, I can't afford to have you in my business? That's a serious question to ask yourself. That one's a gut check, right? Would you rehire yourself tomorrow? If you could split yourself in half and walk in and say, hey, I have activities to do today.
Right? What if that promise was to your client?
And you broke the promise to your client. It's so everything, right? So this is just ignorance based, you know everything. Being foundationally learning based is knowing what you know and knowing that there's always more to know. I'm neither especially clever nor especially gifted. I'm only very, very curious. Albert Einstein said that. This is where the foundational base of learning comes from. Removing your limiting beliefs. What is a limiting belief? Oh, there's an exam. Limiting beliefs. Does anyone have a limiting belief? I think there's maybe a spot in your book to write them down even. The limiting belief is a story that you tell yourself that you're limited in some way. Has anyone ever had a limiting belief? Tim, have you ever had a limiting belief?
Yeah, I'm not tall enough. Does that count?
That one, what, tall enough for what? And actually, no.
To ride all the rides. I'm kidding. Yeah, for sure, limited belief, fear of failure, fear of rejection, like no one's gonna wanna listen to me, all those things.
There's
Yeah.
not enough time.
There's not enough time.
Yeah.
I don't have enough time for training. I can't be successful in this market. Do you know how many times I've heard people say this in the last 24 months? Actually, in the last 17 years, but particularly the last 7 that I've been in leadership, and even more so the last 4 since 2020. I've heard that a lot. I can't be, this market's too hard. Yeah, some people have their very best years they've ever had this year in this hard market. I have agents, and these weren't agents with small businesses. These are agents with big businesses who are having their best year yet. Why? Because they removed their limiting beliefs. I can't devote 3 hours a day to lead generation. Is that a limiting belief? If you had to, if your kids were gonna starve to death, if you didn't do 3 hours of lead generation tomorrow, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna find a way to fit it in? I think you will, right? So remove your limiting beliefs. When you unlimit your thinking, you unlimit your success.
I'm gonna give you a little trick that I do. I'm gonna parking lot it for a mindset thing, but what I'm gonna tell you is if you take every limiting belief, and when you hear a thought pop into your head and it's negative, that's a limiting belief. So when a little negative thought pops into your head, I create called an I am statement, and I take whatever that limiting belief is and I flip it into a positive belief, and I say it to myself as an affirmation.
I think that is a worksheet in their book too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so that limiting belief, you just switch it, take the frown, turn it upside down, unlimit your beliefs. Listen, you can smile or you can cry. It's one of the other.
Smiley face, and it said you decide.
You decide, 100%.
Yeah.
I had somebody one day just say, man, I just love your energy. Like, I don't know how you do it. And every day when I see you're always just so positive. And I just wish I could do that. Do you guys think I roll out of bed every day and I'm just like, yeah, let's go? No, did you guys, if anybody was in the office earlier today, you saw me and I went on a walk and I started doing this. Because you know what? I was in a funk. And I knew I had to show up at a high level today for you guys. And I was not going to let my funky energy rub off on anybody in the room because energy is freaking contagious. And I wasn't going to do it. So I went around and I snapped a little bit. And I talked to a couple people. And I went outside because I got sunlight and that energizes me. So it's something that you choose. Number 6 of the 6 personal perspectives is be accountable. And Allison, you're going to have to give me like a kill sign from the back because I think I am running real tight on time. I'm trying to talk so fast. Be accountable. Accountability. I believe you have this actual in your book. These are a whole worksheet on how to reframe your limiting beliefs. If you don't have the actual book and you're going to do these digitally, please do not just leave them in your email and never look at them again. Do the activities. Remember what I said? We got to do the activities. Do the activities. Reframe the limiting beliefs. So you have a little book about being accountable. It shows this exact same thing. So life happens and reality shows up. So doesn't seek reality. It's ignorant. You don't ask any questions. Seeks reality says there's an awareness to the situation. What is the awareness? Let's seek the reality of it. Not being accountable. Someone who's not accountable fights the reality. They're in denial. That's just not the way it is. That's not how I see it. That's just your perception of it. The person that's highly accountable acknowledges the reality and wants clarity. This is the way it is. Got it. I see what's going on here. We ask more questions. Blame. Blame is someone who's not accountable. If you're projecting everything on everyone else. If so-and-so would do their job, things would be easier. It's not my fault, it's your fault. Things like, why didn't you change something? If you own it, it's energy and focus to it. If it is to be, then it's up to me. What do I want? This is my responsibility. I am a firm believer we can only control our own selves and what happens in our mind. No one can control me. Jenny can't control me. She can give me suggestions. I can care about what she thinks and she could influence my behavior perhaps, but she can't control me. I have to own it and be in control of myself. Take ownership. Being accountable means for someone who's not accountable, it makes personal excuses. That's not my job. I was never even given a chance. That doesn't work in this market. Those are things that you'll hear from someone who's not accountable. The flip side of that is someone who's finding solutions. What are my options? How can I get what I want and what can I do? I'm a big fan of solutions. I will listen to all your problems, but I'm not going to listen to your problems if you don't want to come up with solutions yourself. You may often hear me ask you things like, what if you were going to come up with a solution, Melissa, what do you think that solution would be? Because you've got to be thinking of solutions, right? There's going to be problems always. So let's own it and say, how can I affect this? How can I help find a solution? Someone who's not accountable, that's a victim, they wait and hope. It's in resignation. Oh, if it was meant to be, it'll happen. Oh, well, time will tell. It's out of my hands now. But someone who's accountable, which is going to equal change, is going to have an action plan. They're going to say, let's get started. Time's up. Let's go. This is what I will do. Those are common vernacular that you're going to hear of someone who's highly accountable. So that's our last perspective. One thing that I have a question, do you think that anyone can hold you accountable? Yourself. Can you have partners in your accountability that make it easier? Yes, it's called an accountability. That's what I like to call it anyway. And Gary Keller says that, oh, we have one more here. Maybe not. That slide is gone, I guess. It just was a quote that said, it wasn't Gary Keller, actually. It was Sean Acorn, who I love his book. And it said, happiness is not an individual sport.
And I think that's really true. And misery is also not an individual sport because you will pull people along with you. But accountability is huge. So you're gonna have some accountability measures that are gonna happen throughout this class. Some of you may already be part of a coaching group, or you have an individual coach or something along those lines that you have an accountability partner built into that. And throughout Ignite, I'm gonna really encourage you, number one, stay committed to it. And number two, find an accountability buddy that if you're struggling and you're like, man, I committed to make those calls with Jesse, I'm struggling to do it today. Would you jump on a Zoom with me and let's just mute ourselves? But I can see you're doing it and you can see I'm doing it, and we'll be accountable to each other. Would that be powerful? If one of your friends called you and asked you that in this room, would you say, no, I don't want to because I don't want to be accountable either? No, nobody wants to show up like that, right? Please don't be that person. Nobody wants to show up like that. We all want to show up together in a big way. Any ahas from that? And we're going to take one and move. One aha, I gotta have one or I can't even move on. For those of you that don't know, an aha is like if you're sitting here today and you heard something that you've maybe heard different ways, but all of a sudden you have that little light bulb that goes on over people's head in the old cartoon characters or comics. It's the little light bulb that went in your head that you were like, aha. Yeah.
But you're 20% due for 1 month.
Oh yeah,
That was
huge.
big.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Love it. Okay, I'm gonna move unless anybody has anything.
Ahas mean agents helping agents too.
Oh, agents helping agents are ahas. I love it. Okay, we're gonna talk a little bit about KW culture. I'm gonna cruise through this because we go till 8 tonight.
Well, we go till 7.
Oh, 7:30. Okay, cool. We're gonna get here. So KW culture,
And I
this
want
is
a 5-minute. Right now, and you right now, 10 minutes.
how about, I think, let me see where I'm at.
Hey, KW.
I'm gonna wrap number one and then we're gonna do a bathroom break. So the guys, I got a lot of content. We're gonna cover fast. KW culture, we're gonna talk a little bit about who we are. This is it. For those of you that have access to KW Command, it's all in Connect. The MVVVP. This is mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspective. Keller Williams has one. We're going to talk about what that is. I'm going to encourage you. You got to have your own mission, vision, value, beliefs, and perspective. Why? Because it's who you are. You can align with somebody else's. You should believe in a company's vision of who they are. But if you don't have your own, then it really doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you to work through that. Our mission is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. I think this is really important to me. One of the biggest things that's my why that I drive is what legacy am I leaving? Am I leaving a legacy with someone in this room today who maybe learned something that changed the trajectory of their life? Am I leaving a legacy for my family and my people that I love that I get to interact with? That's a big thing. It's something that I focus on. This is the Y4C2Ts. To me, man, there are just so many things that if you're not running your business this way, you got to really think through it. So it's a win-win or no deal. To me, if you're on the other side of a deal with me, it's got to be a win-win. I can't be the only one winning. You can't be the only one winning. We both have to have a win-win or it's not going to be a deal. Integrity, just do the right thing. You guys, there is unfortunately going to be a lot of times in this industry that you have the opportunity to live out of integrity. Do you agree with this, Jenny?
Yep, 100%.
You only have your word. Your reputation walks in the room before you do. So if you are known for being someone who acts out of integrity, it is going to be very hard for you to be successful in this business. And I will say maybe short term, you'll have some success.
Outside of integrity.
Outside of integrity, yes. But it will never be the kind of success that you want that's sustainable. Customers always come first, obviously. Commitment in all things. Communication. Seek first to understand. I think this is such a big one. We don't ask enough questions. We don't try to understand each other. In real estate and in the world at large. We really do. Chad and I can have a completely different perspective on something. And if we seek first to understand the other person versus judge, then it's going to get us a lot further faster. Creativity. Ideas have to come before results, right? We've got to be creative. We've got to think some things through. Then we can put them into systems, models, and tools and have the results that we need. Teamwork. Together, everyone achieves more. This to me cannot be overstated enough. If you and I can work together as a team for a win-win in integrity, seeking first to understand each other, there's no way that's going to work better. Trust starts with honesty. You have to be honest with yourself too, by the way. Equity, we believe in opportunities for all, and success is real through people. Here's just a few things that we do. I'm not going to dive into any of these deeply, but just know there's a lot of things going on at Keller Williams that we do.
such as fundraising and red days and all kinds of things that are really amazing. I'm not gonna even stop for ahas on that one. A couple things about KW, I just wanna let you know that we're the top franchise for veterans in 2021. We're the top female friendly company. Whoop, whoop. But this is just a little bit about who we are. Now, what I'm gonna tell you is KW is a global company, and we built it from 4 agents by agents from a little tiny baby dream in Austin, Texas. So to me, I want to see your value increase with time. These are things that we grew. I think right now, as you're sitting in the room or you're starting a career or you're restarting or reigniting a business, I would start to think, what are the things that if somebody could put your accolades or your awards on a sheet, what would you want to be known for? That's what, to me, you should be working towards building in this industry. We are known for training and coaching. I'm not going to go into any of this because we're going to talk about it all as we go through this. Command is our, do you want me to talk about it? Nope. Command, we're going to talk about as we go. This is all, we have trainings for Command every single week, so we're not going to go into it here. Profit share. This is the biggest thing to me. Nobody comes up with an exit strategy in real estate. It's really kind of mind-boggling. People that have been in business for a very long time have zero exit strategy ever. And I promise you that you're not going to be on your deathbed thinking, if only I could go knock 2 more doors, so I would be able to do whatever it is, right? You're not going to want to do that. So profit share, the only thing I'm going to say about it is if you're in business or you're doing a deal with somebody and you're like, holy crap, that agent is amazing, and we're like-minded and we came together for a win-win and they live in integrity, you don't even, all you have to do is introduce them to Tim or myself or Allison, and we're going to do the heavy lifting for you. And by you bringing people that are like-minded into our company, this can be a passive income source for you because it can help you grow your profit share. As profit, as the company is profitable and your people that you're bringing in are profitable, then it can help you contribute to your profit share.
Yep, they send you a questionnaire at the end of a transaction that asks you to rate the other client, the other realtor, and why you like working with them. Well, it's always good to play in the sandbox nicely, right? You never throw.
Yep.
Yeah, you just
Don't throw sand.
don't throw sand in people's faces. Play well with each other.
Treat it like a litter box.
No litter boxes. But that being said, when you work with a great agent on the other side, why the heck wouldn't we want them in our office? 100%.
I love that. Why do you think, Jenny, why do you think it's important, and this is not a pitch for whatever, why do you think it's important to have like-minded individuals that are good in the industry? How do you benefit by them being here?
Well, first of all, when we get listings and we come to team meetings, we can share that knowledge with each other before we actually put them on the market. If we know they're looking for something, we're going to help each other out. So
who controls the inventory controls the market. Yeah, right. So listings go along with that. Market share goes along with that. Also, we share and collaborate a ton in this brokerage. And guys, guess what? It's not like that everywhere. Just so you know, I had an agent that moved here and was like, I have to be able to lock my office. And I was like, no problem. I'll find a key. But can I ask why? Like, what's so valuable? Like, I literally have a lot of stuff in my office, guys, and I don't lock my office. You can walk in there anytime, day or night if you want to. I'm going to be really disappointed if somebody steals something. But at the end of the day,
our chocolate almonds, we will slap you.
we will know because Tim counts them every night. But at the end of the day, she goes, well, I had an experience at the other brokerage I was at that people would come into my office at night and they would steal, these were paper file days. They would steal my files. They would take my people's contact and they would call them. Oh my God. And we're not like that here. Okay. So being in business with like-minded people is important. Keller Williams was formed for agents by agents. I will tell you on a local level, I believe that so freaking passionately. And anytime I hear a horror story in the industry, and I'm on the board of directors and I serve in a lot of capacities in our industry. And so I hear a lot of the horror stories. And the first thing I always say is like, oh, it's not one of my agents. Because it gives me heartburn to think that maybe our agents are out there giving us a bad reputation. And anytime I hear somebody telling me a good story, I'm like, was that one of my agents? And I get so happy when it was. And if it wasn't, I'm like, that needs to be one of my agents. So have that same thing. It can be passive income source to you. Okay, KW has a lot of companies. We're going to talk about them. We have in-house lending. We've got in-house title. One thing that I think is really unique is that as agents, as your business grows and you have some minimum requirements, you actually have the opportunity to be partners in those companies, which we're one of the only people that I know that do it in the way that we do it. We also have a lot of communities. So if you really want to focus on new homes, military, land, luxury, diversity, and education, we have a ton of communities out there. You just got to look. There's so much value. I don't want to throw it up all over you today. Your vision, your future. I believe there is something in your books about this because it's going to have you.
Honestly, where do you wanna be in 1 year from now? Think about that.
Yep.
Like, what is your business and life gonna look like 1 year from right now?
Yep, start thinking about that. So today is September 10th, 2025, because it's 1 year from now. And I want you to not write this second, because I actually do want you to put some thought into it, but I want you to write a letter to yourself. And I actually even like, this is something that they do in bold. And every time I've ever written a letter to myself and mailed it to myself later, I have the coolest experience. Once one of my high school teachers had us do this and sent it to us 5 years after we graduated. And it was one of the coolest things that I had ever gotten. And so anyway, I'm just gonna encourage you, write a letter to yourself. This gives you some questions to think about what you're doing. And so write a letter to yourself, and even if you want to go the extra step, mail it to yourself or give it to me and I'll mail it to you in a year from now. Well, this is talking about funding your big life. So when we think about a big life, does anybody ever get a little like ick about just the money factor of it?
I used to.
You used to, right? Like, can we just all like say that sometimes money feels like bleh? Guys, change your mindset about money, because I love money. Money makes the world go around. And guess what else? Money comes, money goes. And I always have enough money for anything that I ever want to do. And that's not because I just have all this money flowing in. It's because I firmly believe that if you believe in something, you're going to find a will, you're going to find a way, and money comes and goes. So the idea of funding your big life, this is an activity I'm going to have you do as well. And a lot of people, when they first get started, they have a hard time like dreaming big enough, right? So one of the first things that we often talk to people about when we're figuring out kind of what their big life would look like, the biggest thing that they want to do sometimes is like just to replace the income of the full-time job maybe that they have. And then I'm just going to encourage you to make that bigger. So that might be one of these, right? But think about all the things that you're passionate about. Some of the things I've seen on here is like pay off debt. I've seen things of helping your kids get through debt free. Donate to a cat habitat, $5,000. I've heard of people who wanted to start like fertility clinics and just big dreams that people have, right? Can you think of anything?
Just absolutely do not ever put a ceiling on it. No, because right as soon as you set goals in this industry, you run into people that you're like, oh my gosh, it's so small compared to what they see. And that's the fun thing about it. It can become whatever you want. You can get whatever you want. And it does pour over and bless other people. So make sure you remember that as your pockets grow, other people's do too. That's what this is really truly about.
The idea is you would take all the things that you really wanted to do and you're going to add that together. And we're not going to go into all of that today because it's really like we're going to break it down into a business plan. But what are the things that you would really like if you were like, man, if I could do this, this would feel incredible, right? If you could pay for somebody that's underprivileged to take music lessons, like what a gift would that be, right? If that was something you were passionate about. So things like that, think about that. Think about what that's going to realistically cost. What would that cost for that to happen? And then this is going to become the number that you put in the middle here. So there is an activity for you guys to do. Again, these are activities. What I do when I'm in a class that I'm like, ooh, I got to come back to that, is I will take it and I just fold the page like this. I'm not going to do it because this is going to be somebody's book, but I just fold it like this and actually crease it because then it's easy to flip right back to those activity pages. So the idea behind this, and then there's a little exercise on page 1.17 that's now going to have you take this number. So you're going to think of all the things in your life and you're going to come up with a number and you're going to have a circle in the middle and that's going to be your number. And then that is going to be on the line that you see your income goals. So the net income goal, and then it's going to go all the way through. You're going to actually leave off gross commission income first. So your net commission, your net income goal, let's say that after you thought of everything, you're like, okay, I need no matter what this next year, $364,000 to be able to do what I want to do. That's going to get me this beautiful, big, perfect life that I love. And then to have success, you need motivation and inspiration for doing your big why. That's Gary Keller. I thought we had this as an example. Yep. Okay. So this just shows you where your commission dollars go. So in a commission, you may be splitting your commission with another agent, depending on how you structured that deal. So that's going to take a little piece of it. You're going to split some with your market center. As you guys know, we're a capping market center. So on every transaction, you're going to pay towards your cap.
until you're capped, and then you don't have to pay that anymore. Jesse just capped, that's exciting.
Love Canada.
You're gonna have business
My favorite.
expenses that come out of your dollars. You're gonna have taxes that come out of your dollars. Spoiler alert, if you're used to being an employee that's a W-2, they took all your taxes out for you. So when you saw your check amount was $10,000 and then they deposited into your account was $4,500, they already took care of taxes for you. You're gonna be taking care of your own taxes. And then what's left is your take home. That dollar looks a little bit different, right? So when we're figuring our goals, we want to figure out what do we actually need for a net income goal. So if we had a net income goal of $100,000, now the good news is I actually think this is inflated a little bit, especially, I know it's inflated for company dollar, but especially for business expenses, is everybody in the room operating as an individual agent, with the exception, Jesse's on a team, so hers looks a little different. Everyone else is going to be, or is an individual agent. So your business expenses, I think, will sometimes be a little less expensive. If you're part of a team, keep in mind your business expenses are probably gonna be way less because your team is handling a big chunk of your expenses a lot of the times, right? So your net income goal, your company dollar and royalty here, its total is 18,000.
That's not to be confused with though, because your cost of sale is gonna go way up on a team.
That's true. I'm like, it kind of
It's not
balances
like
out.
it's
I'm
cheaper to
like,
be on a team.
depends
It
on how
depends on what you're
It's
doing.
not,
yeah, and
not
your split,
cheaper to
but-
run a team.
Yeah, it depends on. Yeah, and then we're not gonna get into any of that. We can put that in the parking lot discussion if we want to, but that there's just pros and cons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Everything's an exchange for time or money.
Yes.
So the things that you would need to deduct out of your gross commission income is your company dollar. That's the amount that comes to the company. Ours is a total of 18,000. The expenses that you have for the year. Here's the beautiful thing, guys. If you haven't been self-employed before, so many things are a write-off now. And guess what else? Did anyone ever see the Schitt's Creek? And it's really funny when he's like, "That's a write-off." He's like, "What do you mean it's a write-off?" It's a write-off. And today that is dad's like, "What do you mean? Like, who are you writing off to the government? Like, you just buy stuff for your business, they pay you back." That's not true. But there are a lot of things that can be written off as a business expense. I'm a big firm believer in budgeting and having like red light, green light with your expenses, but like your cell phone is now a business expense. Congratulations. A lot of your car expense is a business expense. That's exciting. The notebook that you bought that you're writing in, that's a business expense. Your laptop, that's a business expense. So keep track of all those little things. If you buy markers for the board, that's a business expense. So keep track of all those little things that pop up. I gave you a shout out today, Wade. You weren't even into me. And then you're gonna figure this by your annual average commission. The good news is right now the average commission in our market center is over $12,000. So it takes way less than 20 transactions. So this is going to be your turn to do this activity, and we can do that another day. Okay, I'm going to go through our daily success system. Thank you, thank you.
You all want to get corporations as well, LLCs.
Yep. A couple. I think I was supposed to cover this. What? Right? Yeah. I will go through. I'm going to go through the daily success systems at the very end, if you guys are okay with that. Yeah. Because what I want to talk about is powerful conversations get results. I'm gonna read. Okay, perfect. So these are just some conversation examples that you're gonna have in there. Does everyone know the definition of a sphere? We have like 1 hour exactly for our next class. A sphere is someone who met in one way, shape, or form. It's your sphere of influence. So when you're talking about your sphere, your average people move every 7 to 10 years. I think there might be an argument that we might see this expand a little. Why? People are in really good interest rate homes. You know what I take that as? An opportunity to help more of our people with really low interest rates become investors. Why? Because they will never be able to buy and invest. If their primary residence right now is 3%, they're never going to be able to buy an investment property ever in the history of ever again at 3%. So if we can help them become investors and buy their next primary home, we're the winners. So there's ways along this, but becoming in your sphere, you've got to make sure you're talking to people and providing value all along the way. If the only time you ever talk to people is every 7 to 10 years when they're ready to move, they're going to forget who you are. NAR polled, this was a poll that was done years ago, but they polled every single person when they bought or sold a home and said, did you like your agent? Would you use them again? Like 87%, and these statistics are made up like all statistics. 87% of people said that they would use their realtor again. When they polled those same people, the next time that they bought a house, only like 42% or something, 32% actually did. Why? They couldn't even remember who the heck their real estate agent was, or they didn't know how to get in contact with them.
I have a
Yes.
small story
And
with
then you
this.
have-
Just whenever I have somebody asking me or wanting, I am going to a listing presentation. I always look at the previous agent who listed the home, and I'll tell you the type of people that I usually never recognize the name for one myself, which tells me that the names that you recognize, the people that are active in the industry are the people who are keeping their clients. The people whose names I don't recognize, though their clients are coming to me. So like being active in the industry itself and with your sphere is very important.
I just had this conversation with an agent. I was in San Diego last week for the Utah Association of Realtors conversation. And we started talking because she had been marketing to somebody while we were there around a listing that she had. And somebody called her from a sign because she had been sending out things to the neighborhood. And we looked it up to see who the agent was. True, someone that we didn't know. And then also I was like, this is how so many people should like adopt a client, right? Like if you sold that house, chances are the buyer's agent's probably not going to follow up with them. They should now become part of your list. They'll tell you if they don't want to be. And if their agent's following, like if you guys both do it, and you're both doing a great job of follow-up, then they're going to just decide who brings the most value. But chances are the buyer's agent's never going to talk to them again. Yeah. So I love that. Okay. Don't fear your sphere. We already talked about the Ford method, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. I love the Ford sandwich where you do the two, you ask about real estate, you do the next two. These can be really casual conversations, you guys. And I am also a firm believer that if everybody if they didn't do anything else for their business, but they just started implementing quarterly calls with the people that they know, I think probably over 50% of the agents could double their business because we're scared to call and have conversations with people. Think about when you're in the transaction with somebody though. You feel like they're like your best friend. Like I've had people call me to just be like, I've been so sad the last few days and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized it's because I don't talk to you every day anymore. It's been like 2 weeks since I've heard from you, right? So you will create relationships, carry those relationships throughout. Remember that keep track of the things that you know about them. It's going to make a huge difference in your business.
And you can do that in command, right? Notes as you call the person and when and all that stuff.
Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break before we jump into the next one. I'm gonna put this where you're sitting and then people online, you're gonna get this logged in. Also, anybody online, if there's comments in the chat or anything you need to say, let me know. Just feel free to unmute yourself. Every day you're gonna have, throughout Ignite, you're gonna have what's called a daily 10-4. So this is how you're gonna track your habits. It's called the daily 10-4 because there's 4 things that each have a 10 in them that you should do every day. Number 1, 10 conversations. You should have 10 conversations about real estate every day. Allison, how do you define a conversation?
I define a conversation as they responded back to me. So we both.
A two-way conversation. Love it. 10 contacts should be added to your database daily. A lot of different ways to do this. We're going to talk more about them in lead generation, stuff like that. 10 handwritten notes. What in the world would you write 10 notes about every day?
Something about this. Once I start writing a note, I think about all the other people I want to write a note to. Like I'm not a writer, I'm not a note writer, but I just did it the other day and was like, I have 100 people I want to write notes to that I want to tell how much I appreciate them, the things I like about them, congratulate them on something. Just it bloomed.
I love that. Do you guys love it when you open up your mailbox? I have a walking box, and so sometimes I forget about mail. And it turns out I check it like maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, unless I have a package that I was like, why'd you deliver that to my mailbox instead of my front door? So then I open it and I pull out this big wad of stuff. What's the very first thing you check for?
Junk handwritten. No,
I check for notes.
Yeah.
I literally like hold the edges and I'll do this because usually like
there's
a smaller will come out. Okay. Guys, people brighten somebody's day. Write handwritten cards. 10 a day is the goal from the daily 10-4. Utilize the 5-10-1 model for social media. We're going to talk about that later. And then, so do we need to talk about that now if that's part of what we're tracking? Because I didn't know that wasn't introduced, but it is part of the daily system.
We're going to talk about that social media. So
okay, we're going to talk about social media. So for now, your homework would be 10 conversations, 10 contacts added to your database, 10 handwritten notes. By the way, for my people who aren't licensed yet, what might this look like?
Hey, I'm in real estate.
Hey, I'm getting my real estate license. I'm so excited. I'm getting my license, Caleb. Hey, I'm getting my license in 1 week. I'm so freaking excited to talk to you about real estate, right? We can start having those conversations. We can start adding them to the database now. I'm getting my license soon. And one of the first things that I want to do is throw a big party, let people know how much I appreciate them. I have a pumpkin patch event coming up. And it occurred to me, I didn't have your email to send you the save the date. Can I get that from you? Now we're adding them into our contacts, okay? So you're gonna have the plan your day, you're gonna have your daily 10-4. So you're gonna think through what your goal is and how many of those you completed. What the suggestion is that it's 10 contacts, 10 database ads, 10 handwritten notes. You personally are gonna have what you believe you can do and what your goals are. So maybe your goal is 10 voice texts. Instead of handwritten notes, it's 5 handwritten notes and 5 voice texts. Listen, I don't care what you do, I just care that you do it. So 10 is the goal. You're gonna have this, you're gonna fill it out, you're gonna do the goal, and then each day you're gonna report how many you completed. And then your success list, which is very similar to what your weekly goals would be down here. Your success list are the things that you're gonna write down, what's the list of the things you could do. And then when you're writing them all, I want you to say, what's the one thing that by such doing it, everything else would be easier and necessary. That's the book, The One Thing. It's one of the best books ever written for real estate, I believe, or anything really, because it's asking what's the number one thing you can do today. We're gonna take a quick 5-minute break. I'm gonna give you this. Allison, is there anything else you wanna say about homework?
No, there's restrooms right here though, and then there's some other restrooms behind that door.
Yeah.
You didn't have to wait for the break.
Oh, yeah, also, here's what I'm gonna say, guys, if you gotta go, like, we're grown-ups, so if you gotta go, you just go, I'm not gonna get offended, just come back. If you sneak out, then I'm like, she disappeared, I'm gonna probably know and I'll feel it. But I'll get it.
You guys feel like a little brain dead, like that was so much information coming at you?
And this is the fluffy stuff.
It's fluffy, that's like.
You're gonna get a high five. Do all that, right? Like,
Seriously.
End of the day on a Tuesday, I'm like, good lord, I need to.
This when I think the first time we did this edition of Ignite. And all of a sudden the 2 hours were up and we're like, we still have one of it out here.
If anybody needs to like refill water or anything like that, in case you're not familiar with the office. Bathrooms are here. There's a little kitchen area here. There's a coffee machine, and then there's a little water fountain around the corner. I didn't start a timer. I'm just gonna start it now. It's probably been a minute and a half.
Hey, Rusty, I have a question.
They left.
No worries, I'll just ask it later. We'll see when they get back. I'm up in the Logan office, and so we're a branch office of the Layton office, and I'm just wondering if we're still gonna have access to this, like the Layton trainings once we're a new market center come January.
I don't know. I'm not even with KW. I'm with Equity, but my friend is my really good friend is a branch broker. And
okay.
I actually was gonna go with him.
The one thing.
And Equity sold me on this like dream.
The one thing is Jay
their
Pavisan,
mentor.
Gary Keller. There's a couple, you're gonna hear a lot of like the KW Bible books, whatever we want to call them. Like you're gonna hear the Millionaire.
I don't think they can hear us.
Referred to as
No,
the Red Book
I don't
for the
think they can.
MREA a lot. There is so much good information in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the MREA. This is what this is shipped actually. There's so much good information in that one. It doesn't read necessarily like a book, right? The one thing I think flows more like story-ish. The MREA is more tactical, right? There's more, there's some examples, but it's more tactical. Shift is also, guys, Shift, I don't care if we're in a shift or not. There's so many good just tactics and reminders in Shift that I feel. It's always shifting. It doesn't matter. Everything's a shift. Yep. Just because I'm gonna play this really because while we're waiting for people to finish up bathroom breaks, is that okay? Yeah. Because I love this video, it's a new one. And it gives people something online to stay engaged with. And then it gives me a minute to have a little body break too. Like, oh my God, you know, there's, I love them. Huh?
Huberman? Yes, I love Huberman. And then there's another one I love, it's diary of the CEO. They interview one of John.
You take your deepest breath and shout, I can. When you were a kid, you still had a kid's imagination. Did you ever make your own cave? Get on top of your roof, put your fists on your hips, look out to the horizon, and before you jumped, you take your deepest breath and shout, I can sell this house. Of course not. Even I didn't do that. And I have a real estate superhero for a father. Didn't dress up like a realtor for Halloween either. I wish I had now. But instead of being the cowboys or astronauts we dreamed of, we all grew up and became what we are. Now that's a good thing. It's also a shame because way too many of you think of yourselves as just real estate agents. What if instead of millionaire real estate agent, Gary titled it, How to Be a Pirate? Did you really think all those books were about real estate? You were reading instead of feeling. They were about life, grand adventures, fortunes to be had, stories about chaos and opportunity, strength and vision, leadership and daring exploits. They were maps that sailed the world to explore and discover, clues to solve mysteries. They were autobiographies and memoirs of Gary and everyone he ever met. They were thrilling comedies, epic tales, legends, conquering heroes. Now those are things we can pay for. Entrepreneurs can fly. We're 40 years old this year. We went and grew up, but we have to keep dreaming like children because children aren't afraid to fall. They aren't afraid to go to sea in a storm. Their imaginations are wild because they haven't learned to fail. They catch their breath in excited gulps and never stop moving. They cannonball in the pools and they pretend to be pirates, just like entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs don't love chaos. They love seeing an answer in the chaos. We build businesses worth owning and lives worth living. While others simply play real estate, we bend the rules to the direction we want the wind to blow. We command the horizon. We lead an industry by going our own way. We train the best to be better and to come on board. We leave competitors in our wake. We sell, we buy, we change lives. Tears of joy, shouts of victory. The dreams we had met with the dreams of our clients. New keys, new doors, new lives, new memories. And every one of us will be a part of the stories they tell. The life we've chosen is a celebration of the journey from treasure to treasure. It's an attitude you either have or you learn from reading a book you thought was about real estate. Keller Williams, as a leader, as a team builder, as a leaver of legacy, you will be so much more than a real estate agent. There's an entrepreneur inside every one of you, an incredibly wealthy entrepreneur. Because as Gary tells us, relationships are the currency of wealth. And you're part of a culture like no other, with a network like no other. In Mark Twain's book, Life on the Mississippi, he remembers his childhood when he says, now and then we had the hope that if we lived and were good, God would permit us to be pirates. Who ever heard of a pirate asking permission? Voice the skull and mustache.
All right. I thought that would be kind of fun to come back from the bathroom break. And this time I'm gonna actually stop it. So it doesn't just start playing the next one. I'm gonna get Jenny all set up here. Are you guys okay if we skip through ahas each section and then let's just like write them down at the end because we are gonna ask for some ahas at the end. So jot down as you hear ahas. So now we're on section 2. So in your book or in your digital book, go to section 2. Is this what you want or do you want me to keep going further?
Yes, I think so. what we're gonna start with right now is we're gonna apply the 6 core competencies of business. So we're gonna go over those. So first of all, what part of being a real estate agent is most exciting to you? What made you excited to do real estate enough to spend all this time in school to help people in this journey? Does anybody have anything you want to share?
Freedom.
Freedom?
It can be financially or just day to day. I pick what I could do, and based off of how hard I try, that's what comes back to me.
Right.
And so I get to choose how successful.
Absolutely. You get to choose what you're worth.
Yeah.
Right? That's the biggest thing. That's why I hang out in real estate too. That's why I keep going. Nobody's gonna tell me what I'm worth, but I get paid, what I make is up to me. And nobody's gonna fire me. So if I suck, I'm not gonna make any money, right? So it's freedom, but it's also, you have to be willing to just put skin in the game. It's not a 9-to-5 job. You're not gonna get a paycheck unless you go to work. But having a career in real estate can be really, really rewarding. You become so entrenched in your clients' lives, and I've had people call me in the middle of the night and say, stop the transaction, I'm getting a divorce. Jenny, don't tell anyone, you're the first one we're telling, we're having a baby. You become such a personal part of their life during the transaction. And so it's a really big thing you're taking on your shoulders and helping them with the biggest investment in their life, where they're going to have their family. You really do become a part of their life during that time. So part of the key thing is, how do we get to that point and create that? So the 6 core competencies of a business, number 1 is lead generate, capture, and convert into appointments. This can intimidate a lot of people. Let's see, I don't want to get off track. So we're going to read through all of them. Yeah, there we are. Okay, lead generate, capture, convert into appointments. Number 2 is present to buyers and sellers and get agreements, show buyers and market sellers, write and negotiate contracts, coordinate and sell to closing, and manage the money. These are all things that you've got to coordinate together. Okay, you have the next one. You want to take this? Yeah, probably. Yeah. So lead generate, capture, convert into appointments. So first of all, when this is something that you're going to hear repeated over and over again, and Rusty, please interject wherever you'd like. So lead generate and capture and convert into appointments.
You have your book digitally. Let me move this so you can see better. Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's better for you. Sorry to take your book digitally.
Speaking of strong points that you bring to real estate, it's very agile. And so I can bob and weave and adjust in this scenario, but when I have like something laid out in front of me, then I'm like, I have to focus. That's not my strong point. So so number 1, when you lead generate and you know capture those people and put them in your SOI, what information do you need to consider them? Is that right? Oh, what information do you need to consider them a lead? What do you need?
Name.
What else? Phone number?
Maybe a timeline.
Address. Okay. What if it's somebody you know? What if it's a Facebook friend? Do you know their address? Give me some ideas of how you can get their address. Because most of you are new.
You can almost find anything on the internet.
What's easier than that?
Oh,
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rusty's letting us cheat.
Yes.
She's writing it down.
So little easy thing to remember.
Yep.
Name.
Nope. Nate. Tell me what Nate is.
Name, address, phone number, email. For the 201 Plus Club, we want you to have all of this information. So if you think of somebody like the Nate, like this is weird, but I always think of like a baby lion and a mama lion, and she like takes the baby by the nape of the neck and carries it around, and that's how she keeps track of it.
Yeah, that's how we're gonna keep track of it, right? Like, just take your clients back, and that's how you're gonna know how to get them.
Yep, so, and it's not hard to ask for their address, especially if you're brand new. You can just say, hey, Brian, I am so freaking excited, I got my real estate license. And I want to be the very best out there. I'm going to study your neighborhood. Would you mind if I got your address and I ran some value, comps for you on your house so I can help study your neighborhood, right? Tell me a little bit more about your house. Have you made some updates, anything like that? They're gonna be excited to hear from you. And I think it's brilliant to just straight up ask them what it is, tell them you want to study their neighborhood, and they'll be like, really? That's really cool, thank you. And actually say your best email, your best phone number. People have a junk email and they'll give it to you if they think you're gonna get junk, so make sure that you ask specifically for the very best one possible. We present to buyers and sellers and get agreements. We know this more than ever right now. This is very, very important. You have to show that the buyers, it's all about understanding what the buyer needs and selecting the houses and letting them have the experience they deserve buying their first home. A lot of people will just be like, hey, yes, let's go look at this house, cool. But you need to show them why you're the very best. This is really important. You need to meet with them, say, hey, I know you're going to use me because we're friends, but I want to sit with you first for half an hour and show you why I'm the best choice and why I'm going to get you exactly what you want. Just sear that in your brain. You are the best choice because they are your friend and you don't want to lose their friendship and you're going to do the very best for them. Okay.
Can I say one little thing here? So I believe that right now is a really great opportunity for people getting into the business and also for people who've been in the business for a long time. And I think that people that have been in the business for a long time actually are a little bit of a disadvantage because you have some bad habits and you maybe didn't have to really have a great buyer strategy session before, and you really do now. And we're going to cover that in later sessions of Ignite. But I think it's really important that this is it's actually number 2 of your key core competencies. So number 1 is your lead generation. Like nothing's going to ever take the place of generating and capturing leads. Number 2, though, you've got to know how to present to buyers and sellers. And it is very much your job to have confidence in the contract. Little plug for our contracts class tomorrow. Allison and I are doing it in the evening. So if you want to come to a contracts class, it's tomorrow at, I think, 5. I'll double check.
Contracts to purchase or contracts in.
So we're gonna go through the REPC specifically, and I think if we have time, we'll go through ERS, the exclusive right to sell and the buyer broker agreement. But one thing that I will tell you that I take pride in, and the only reason I'm good at it is because I've practiced a lot, but I can out contract anybody. Like I will arms out, like arm wrestle for it but I got really good at having the conversations because I wasn't scared to have a conversation. And it's the same way with the listing and the seller presentation. You have to know how to do it. And if you don't, you're never going to get better at it. Angie.
And it sounds silly, but practice reading it upside down.
Yes,
Or not reading it, but knowing
what it says, knowing what comes next, knowing where you're going to point, you're going to initial right here. And those things, I know they sound nerve-wracking if you haven't done that for a long time. And honestly, even if you've been in the business for a long time, DocuSign made it easy to get kind of lazy with the contracts. Right? And I hope that none of the people in this room were ever those people, but I think it made it really easy to not have to explain the contract to somebody that they're signing. And so that is a really key piece of what you do. And if you can explain to somebody the legality of a contract and all the value that you're going to bring as their agent, those two pieces combined together are magic. And that's why I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think there's a lot of opportunity for agents to level up in this area. And I think from a new agent, if you just get into the habit of this to start with, it's a huge advantage to you because there are agents right now that have been in business for a long time that are really nervous about having to explain their value on a buy side or even a list side and explaining contract. So,
question. Ken will present contracts highlight. Is that,
what?
Ken presents contracts, they're highlighted. There's certain things that are highlighted.
To his clients or in the class?
In the class.
Oh yeah.
And I'm curious if that would be something that.
I think it's a part.
What you want to do, is it?
No, is available in DocuSign. Where-
Highlighted?
Yeah, highlighted sections in.
No, because I don't think you should, my personal opinion, he's highlighting them for a training presentation. And you'll see the same thing tomorrow in my contracts class, by the way. I go through, we'll pull the contract up. I have my best notes written into.
Although
Okay,
I do-
I'm happy to share that with you. But there are people who will highlight or circle things that are very important, but that's never gonna be in DocuSign because DocuSign is the contract. It's your job to then highlight it. So if you're doing it in ink or whatever, you can do it that way. If you're doing it on your iPad, you can do it that way. I personally discourage you from having a physical copy. Like, I don't think unless there's a reason for it, that you should have like an ink signature. I think you should teach everyone to use technology. And even if they say they can't, like, that's another thing, but that's a contract question.
Yeah.
You wanted to say one thing and then I'm gonna put it in parking lot, because I do think it's critical, but that class tomorrow, we do it, and I'm happy to share the notes with it.
So that being said, I took a spin off on my listing presentation and I actually flipped it around. AI is your friend, if you know how to use it. I said, if I was a seller and I was presenting to, you know, if I was selling my home, what are the top 10 steps of selling your home? And then I kept playing with it. And that's actually how I made my listing presentation. And I added all these things. Listing presentation. I took each one of those and then I turned those into emails. I just went all the way through the process. And then I did that same thing with buyers. So don't let your presentation solely depend on the contract, because everybody has that.
Everybody has access to the contract.
Yes, you need to show them why you're different and why you're better. So if anybody wants to look at mine, you're welcome to. I've got it on Canva and you can just look at it. You need to know how to set yourself aside. I've had buyers tell me that's the best explanation they've ever had. Where other agents will just be like, cool, I'll show you this house, but I need you to sign this first. Okay,
Don't have that be the reason.
don't have that be the reason.
Don't have the only reason you've got somebody sign an agreement because you met them. That's the lowest value possible for you.
Yeah, that's pathetic. So,
How can I get that from you?
Huh?
How can I get that from you? Email you and ask for it?
I'll put Jenny's info in here too.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Jenny,
I'm happy to
what's the
let you
best
see it.
email?
So, but then also you can send them information before I send them an email. Hey, I'm so excited to meet with you. This is my little years of experience. This is a little bit about me. This is fiduciary duties. This is what they mean. So before we start looking, I break down education for them so that by the time they're looking, they feel comfortable that they know they're with a very competent agent. I do that with both buyers and sellers. I have the steps before and after. Come on, baby.
Oh, sorry, that's my fault. I'm over here.
Okay.
Sorry, I was trying to get to. Let me see
What's going on?
I just need to open this back, sorry. It's because I opened something over here because I got some people asking questions in the chat. I am now monitoring the chat. So if you guys have questions there, Kay should be able to.
Okay, awesome.
So number 4 was no property, 3.
Three
Sorry, I
was
think
no-
we skipped 3. Did we? Did we not? Show buyers and sellers.
Oh, present to buyers and
that
sellers
one.
and get agreements. Show buyers and sellers, show buyers and market sellers. I got so carried away in that last one and mentally already went to the contract. I kind of forgot about that.
This one basically is you need to know how to market property and show buyers property. Right, we're gonna dive deeper into those 3, the buy side and the sell side, which are some classes upcoming. But this is very much one of your 6 core things that you have to do. So far we've got lead generation and capture.
Yep.
We have present to sellers and buyers and get contract agreements signed. Show the buyers and then learn how to market to sellers. And then number 4, now we're on 4.
Okay, right, negotiate contracts. This is really important. This is where, you being a little bit newer, you kind of do have the upper hand. I've worked with some agents that they haven't even looked at the new REPC yet. They don't know which addendums to use. There's some you have to be really careful and look out for. But what I have found is through this change is most agents, they have had empathy for each other and they want to help each other out, okay? So keep that in mind. Don't show your cards, okay? If you need help, call somebody here in the office, always somebody here to help you. Could call me anytime. What would Jenny do? Question. I don't always give the best advice, but I try. Let's see. Okay, so write, negotiate contracts. It's not just writing that first initial offer. You try to really say, okay, what is our number one must-have priority goal, and kind of know if they counter back, where are you gonna be? Try to foresee those things ahead of time. And remember, it's not about if you're afraid if they're gonna take the offer or not. It's about what your client wants, period. I just closed a deal and I was shocked. I was able to get $30,000 in closing costs. I was able to get them down in value, $15,000. And I was able to get solar thrown in. And we had $15,000 in repairs. I was like, what the hell?
You kind of look like a jerk when you ask me for another thing each time, right?
But
You're
they
kinda
were
like,
all
"Oh,"
same thing.
but
Well, you know, I kind of did, but I'm like, this is for my.
yeah,
He told me I was a bulldog, the nicest bulldog he ever worked with. I'm like, thank you. I will take that. And he was very pleasant to work with. So guess what I did? I filled out the review after the transaction and I'm like, I think this agent should come to KW. He was pleasant to work with. He was not weak. He'd been around for 25 years. He was very pleasant to work with. Everything I asked for was a danger to the home. When I negotiate it, I'm not asking for just repairs. I'm giving reasons and trying to build that case behind my offer. So it's easy for both agents to communicate it, a win-win situation.
Yep. And the nice thing is we have a whole section just on negotiation.
Yeah,
That'll be good.
super cool. That will be great. So. Oh.
Sorry, no, go back. There you go, sorry.
Okay, coordinating the cell. Is that what I'm on? Did I miss
Yep,
anything?
coordinating the sales closing.
Yep. Coordinating the cell to closing. So this is where, you guys, for me, I am, like I said, I'm really good at bing, 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 like a squirrel. I really am. So I have a TC. She's worth every single penny because she is very systematic.
Wait, because Jenny knows her weaknesses.
I know my weaknesses and I'm
Right?
okay with that.
And she knows her strengths.
Yeah, and she was on maternity leave and I felt it.
Jenny's like, no more.
I would have to rewrite, you know, like, I missed a signature, I did what? You know, I was so frustrated with myself. That I see the value in having that because she's a perfectionist and so I really need it. So the fifth competency is that you need to get out is coordinating the sale to closing. Keep in mind that not all deals make it to close for various reasons. It takes skill. And that's why this is one of your your core competencies. If you feel like a deal is falling apart, do not let that fear come out on your client. Okay, your job is not to let them see your fear, it's to be that strong person for them. If you're freaking out and you're like, I'm not sure what to do. I have my core people that I call. I have 3 or 4 people that I call and okay, this is the scenario. What would you do? And how would you put this in addendum? Does this sound right to you? Never, ever just give up and let it go, okay?
Can I just say one little thing along here? So contract to close, I think is really important, right? Because it's fairly easy, in my opinion, to get an agency agreement signed. It is, in my opinion, you can find leads, you can get an agreement signed, you can show homes, you can market selling. I missed number 4, whatever that was. We obviously hate that one, because I think we skipped over it.
Negotiate
Oh,
contract.
negotiating contract, no, that's a great one, that there's all requests. But to me, contract to close right here is you're coordinating that the whole way. And I had a situation recently where someone called me and they were just like, hey, I need to know how to cancel a contract. And I was like, tell me more. Why are we canceling a contract? And it was one of the couple first deals this person had done. And she started telling me the story. It was a financing issue. And I said, you owe it to your client to talk to somebody else. Because they were approved, what happened, where did we go sideways? And you have time. Well, no, because I don't want to tell the other agent that there could be an issue, so I'm just gonna, and I was like, no, pause, stop it. You have to be able to communicate, and guess what? At that point, she had a confidentiality agreement with her client. There was no reason at that point to even tell the other side that there was an issue. Because guess what? We had a solution before the other side even had to know there was a problem. She was worried about an inspection coming up, but we were well within our deadline. So I said, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna call the agent and tell them that we need to push the inspection to Monday instead of, I think it was supposed to be on a Thursday. Because we're just working through a couple things that we wanna make sure that we're good to go on the inspection. So we're gonna push it till Monday. And that's all we had to do. We had a quick conversation. She talked to another agent and we ended up.
Where did you go?
Oh, you can grab that and take it back with you.
Yeah, you can take it.
And then, but the reality was that someone else could get the person financed. They saved them money every month. They got up, it was Tommy at Unity, honestly, and this is not just a shameless plug for him. This is that you are the problem solver. And it is your responsibility, and your first go-to shouldn't be to give up on something. Just like Jenny said, there were real concerns that our client had, and she had to get those done. That's all part of the contract to close process. So some of it's forms, some of it's making sure you have a great transaction coordinator so that you are staying organized and in line. Guys, some of it is being present enough in the thing to know, like, I gotta take a break. And if that agent, I'm so glad she called me. Because the message that we got from her later when it closed, because they had them I need to cancel a contract to a clear to close in 13 days. And the text that we got back after was, I'm so grateful you introduced me. Thank you. You have no idea the difference is made in, she said her client's name's life. You have no idea the difference it made in his life. And to me, that's what contract to close is. It's not about you. It's not about them. It's not about your ego. It's not about feeling bad because you got to push back an inspection that you're planning to do. It's not about the inspection company. It's about you having integrity and being a fiduciary, which we're going to talk about to your client. But it's such an important piece of the contract to close process. That's you're their voice. If that made such a big difference in his life, imagine the spiral that would have happened if that would have canceled the contract when it was totally doable by them. It just, that specific lender couldn't do what they needed to do. There's lots of different options. Always have a second.
Yep.
Anyway, little soapbox.
Perfect. And the sixth one is managing the money. Right before I close, I go through the contract and I write down maybe every single repair that we have negotiated in. What are the closing costs? What is the BAC? You know, all of those things. And I wad it into one pretty bow. And then I email it over to the title company, make sure we're all reflecting the same information. I also put it into command in the opportunity in the notes, making sure that everything's already done. So it's a smooth finish line, right to closing. And that way you're not gonna miss, like, let's say it was a small little $600 repair, some little thing that needed to happen. Sometimes it's, you know, you see things on a final walkthrough, you need to make sure that those things get addressed. I actually had one, I'm still working on it. It wasn't awesome. The sellers moved out, they left a nice plugged sewer line. I'm really pissed about it still. Anyways, so I sent them proof from a plumber that it was pre-existing. There's no way you could have caught it on inspection or final walkthrough unless we would have taken a shower. You know.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say different.
Different walkthrough, so the shower. So anyways, I am, you know, after the deal, I'm pushing with the client. I'm like, hey, either you can pay the $600, you know, clean out repair, or my client's they have already researched how to take you guys to court, and neither one of us want to do that, do we? Let's fix it. So I'm still working on that. I'll let you know how that turns out. But anyways, when the money and everything like that, it's not just the money, it's making sure the condition of the home and everything is as expected. That one was not a pleasant surprise.
Well, then you also want to make sure you're managing your money too.
Yes.
Plan where your money's going. Taxes, man. That's like,
Guys, I get so many calls and conversations about taxes that people didn't say properly. Well, just put a chunk away. It's your own little savings account. The best news is if you tap into an account called your tax account, you just didn't even touch it, and then at the end of the year, maybe you're only in a 20% tax bracket, you just gave yourself 30% raise for the year, woo, that's your bonus. That's your refund. It's your return. You're just operating as the IRS now.
That's when you buy more.
Your own money is really important.
Yeah, you do own a business. You own a business. You have to treat it as such. You gotta make sure you have money in the bank and things like that to run it properly.
I understand one of the reasons Keller Williams is so great is that they really help with teaching how to manage and use your money.
Yes.
They do.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a class that we're gonna do, and it's wealth building. And people don't wanna think that it's wealth building because it's not sexy to have a budget and to know how to run it. That's your number one layer of wealth. You can't build wealth if you don't know how to manage your money. You really can't.
100%
Because money will come and money will go. If you don't know how to budget, if you don't know how to evaluate and analyze your expenses and plan for where that money is gonna go, you can't build wealth. So that's your number one step. And nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear about the flashy, like, how can I get rich quick? What did you say?
Where's my yacht?
Right? Like, where's my yacht? I don't see it yet. Well, you gotta start working hard. Put money away for that. You can't buy your yacht if you didn't pay taxes.
And you'll be like a gerbil in a hamster wheel.
Yep.
If you don't discipline yourself and take care of those things. Our office actually does. It is our office, it is our leadership, extra planning that even after your budget, how can we set you up to help you retire? So nobody wants to do this when you're 80. That's my big why. I want to be done in 10 years. That's super important. To achieve your highest potential, these 6 core competencies must be done with consistency and be well done. You never ever want one of your clients to be like, I never want to work with that person again. You know, you want them shouting from the rooftops and telling their friends about it. And absolutely. So.
Skipping on
Skipping. Recognize the roles of the fiduciary and a client. That was the next.
Yep, that's, I think we skip one more and we'll come to it.
Functionary versus fiduciary.
This is one of my favorite ones.
Really?
Yes.
So, do you want to know?
I don't know. Be the fiduciary.
So here's a story. It's even in here, but imagine that you go to, oh, where it skipped right over my stuff, that's okay. So imagine that you had to go get your car fixed. And you had a car repair and you pulled into the first spot that you saw. And they said, here's the job and you're gonna owe this amount of money and you need to pay it in advance before you leave today. And you gotta pay it. Is that okay? And they fixed the car. Right? And so you're like, oh man, that just cost me like $1,200 to get my car fixed. And they were basically like, this, and this is wrong, and it's gonna be this amount of money, and you need to pay, and it'll be done in 3 days. Okay, great, here's your check. The next one is, imagine that you go into a different car repair company, and this will listen to you, and they anticipate your needs, they help you make decisions, they educate you in the entire process, they act like a partner in the process, they keep you updated, and they're a fiduciary. I had this exact experience, almost except for not with repairs. I was thinking about buying a new car. I've been thinking about it for a very long time. I'm budget conscious, so I've been very aware of like, what did I need to have? What was the budget for my car gonna be? All these things, what could I get out of my other car? So I've been looking, I knew what car I wanted to buy. I've been talking to a guy and I'll even say, cause he's freaking amazing. And he's Jody Wilkinson Acura, and his name is, I just forgot it, but it's in my phone, so I'll tell you, cause he's amazing. And I've been talking to him and he had taken me on a test drive. And he didn't just talk to me about, like, I already knew the car I wanted to buy, guys, because it's weird, but this is my 4th MDX, because I like it. I like the drive, I like the safety features, I like that it's luxury, but it's not like, you know, BMW price tag luxury. And so I already knew what I wanted to buy. But he didn't come in and just start telling me all the features of the car or breathe on me with commission breath. He started talking to me about what were the features that I loved in my car that I already had. What were my favorite things? Then by hearing what I really liked about my car right now, when we get in the car for the test drive, he starts talking to me and I'm thinking to myself, you need to sell real estate. And I really did talk to him about K-Score because I'm thinking to myself, you need to sell real estate, because then he started talking to me about the things that I loved in my existing car and how much more I was going to love them in the new car, because I didn't have to buy a new car, guys. Like, my car was fine. I had a lot of miles on it because I drive a lot, as you all do or will. But it was fine, right? But there was just some things and I was timed and I was ready and quite frankly, I needed to tax it off, so it made sense. But so as we're talking, he talks to me about my car that I have and the things I already love about it. And then he starts, as we're driving, oh, do you remember that you said you loved this? Or one of the things I didn't like in my current car. So I was like, I feel like my info station's clunky. Like it's hard to, he's like, oh, one of the things you mentioned was the info station. So here's what I want you to do. We're gonna connect your phone right now. We connect my phone. So now, when I'm in the car, it's popped up with all my stuff and he's showing me the things and he's talking to me about the features that I liked in my old car and how much more advanced they are in my new car and the cool things that my new car is going to do that my old car didn't. Okay, so we're driving and we do that. And so as we're looking at it, there's this certain model of the car that I want. I've already done some pre-research because quite frankly, I don't have time to like be sold on a car. Like I need to know. So I kind of went in knowing what I wanted. I knew I wanted the exact model, but there was a certain color that I kind of had in mind. So he's like, let me see if I can find that. So I leave and he calls me. Weird. He picked up his phone and called me. And he says, hey, I can't find that exact color combo that you have in the model that you want, unless you're willing to go to, and he tells me this year, and I was like, I really don't want to do that. Like I could, but I don't want to. So we talked through a couple more things. He stays in touch with me. He tells me he's going to look and see if he can find it in another place, blah, blah, blah. He's continuing to stay in touch with me. I then, on the way home one day, I have a meeting in Salt Lake. I sit on a Zoom call in an hour in the car, and I get done with the call, and I call my husband. I said, I'm just going to go buy the car. And he goes, okay. I was like, so I just want to tell you, I'm not coming home right now. I'm just going to go buy it. So I'm getting in my car. I'm sitting in my car, and I'm going to drive to Jody Wilkinson, and I'm going to buy my car with the guy. And I pull up online, and I just happen to decide I'm going to do one final check of what I'm looking for. And Mike Hale Acura has the car, the model, the color, and the interior color that I wanted. Now, here's the thing. I hadn't seen it in person. I just saw it online, but I really wanted the espresso interior. And guys, it's freaking cute. I really wanted the espresso color material, but I was like, black is so hard to keep clean. So I wanted this slate gray or space gray was color. I don't remember. They have it at Mike Hale. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I just think I'm just going to drive past there on my way home and see if that one's really. And so I pull in and I start talking to the guy. And that guy basically is like, well, what's your budget? Well, are you getting financed? Okay, you don't know am I getting financed? You don't know that. Am I paying cash? By the way, that's why I never assume somebody's just going to be a cash buyer or a finance buyer. And I'll be like, have you been pre-approved? I'm like, will you be paying cash for the house or are you going to be getting a loan? We need to connect your financing. So he basically asked me what my budget is. Blah, 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 wants to tell me about the other cars that I say, no, I'm only interested in the 2024 gray exterior with the espresso interior. This is I literally pull it up on my phone because he's trying to talk. This is what I want to look at. Can you show me this car? And he goes, yeah, let me find the keys. And then he comes out and he's got a different car that he's trying to sell that he wants to show me. And I'm like, I don't want the white car. I just don't. Sorry. What else has I don't want I don't want that car. I want this car. So we go, I drive it. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy it. Well, here's the thing. It's more money than the exact same car that's black. So I start asking questions like, well, does it have, is there an upcharge for the color? And he's like, no, this isn't an upcharge. Blah, blah. So I'm like, well, they were gonna do it. And this is not me trying to get a better deal. This is just me trying to understand why that pricing's more. So he sits me in a room and he's gonna talk to the manager. And then he wants to start talking about this. And so I am very clear with him from the very beginning that I was on my way to buy the other car. And I just happened to see this one. And he's like, oh, and then his manager comes in and they must have been doing some kind of special if they got leases. Maybe they made more money. I don't know. He starts trying to talk me into lease. And I said, I think that you're confused about what I'm saying, the words that are coming out of my mouth. I don't want to lease the car. I'm not going to have to pay. I started telling him these things because I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested in that. Wait, have you even looked at a lease? I'm not going to do a lease. Well, it's just the amount of money you want to pay every month. I don't want to have a monthly payment, especially not a lease payment. So he doesn't listen to anything. And then his manager gets up to go leave again. And I just said, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for your time, but I'm going to go. And he goes, what? I said, I'm going to leave. And he goes, why? And I go, I'm going to go buy the black car. And he's like, well, why are you going to go buy? No, wait. I said, no, you're not listening to what I was saying. When I came in here, I was on my way to buy the black car. I love the black car. Quite frankly, when I saw the two together, the black is way sexier. It is going to take me more time to keep it clean, but I like it better. But do you know what it was about? Functionary versus fiduciary. Right. The guy at Jody Wilkinson was a fiduciary. He wanted to know why I wanted the car, what I liked about it. How was I going to drive it?
What was my lifestyle? Did I want a payment? Did I not want a payment? Do I want, if I'm gonna get the black, do I want to put the bra on? And he doesn't carry the rate because he doesn't make any more money for it. Meanwhile, manager and his other friend at Mike Keller telling me that the only way they can give me the same price for the exact same freaking car is if they, well, in that price, they include the tech mats. Well, I've already done my research, guys, and Acura in this level puts in the tech mats in every single car. It's not an upcharge. He tries to tell me the clear bra on the front of it's gonna be $600 more than what this guy had already told me it was gonna be. All these things, right? Functionary versus fiduciary. I bought a car that day. I left, I pulled into the other place and I said, hi, I'm here to buy the car with the black, with the espresso interior. And I did that. And that was a functionary versus fiduciary. And I think about that every time that I get a complaint about somebody just unlocking a key box, showing the, like, throwing the door open. I think about the fact that he took the time to talk to me about what I wanted, what was important, and then someone else, all they could think about was their commission. I'm thinking about that a lot when we're talking about the settlements. And all people are worried about is how am I going to get paid? We're not doing this for free. It's completely okay to be paid. But guess what? If you take really great care of people and you're a true fiduciary for people, not just providing a function. If you want to just be functionary, you're going to get paid way less than I'm going to. And that was a really clear example with the car dealership. That guy made no money then. The other guy, I'm sure he got a nice commission. I don't know how they get paid. But at the end of the day, the next morning, salesman from Mike Hill, Acura, calls me and says, hey, I just wanted to touch base with you. I talked to my manager again. I just said, hey, you know what? You remember when I told you I was going to buy a car? I'm sitting in it right now. I'm driving to work in my new car. I bought it. So I'm sorry, but I tried to tell you and you just wouldn't listen. And he's like, oh, okay. Sounds good, thanks. Anyway, that's my thing.
I bet that felt good.
It felt so good. And by the way, just in case you are in the world of Acura and you want to buy one, Mike Hill's going to try to tell you that you need to buy a package that includes everything. And guess what? Turns out last year, Jody or Acura themselves included all the regular maintenance. They pay the dealerships to do it. So if you go to Jody Wilkinson, all your regular maintenance is included free of charge for you. So if you got to do like a whatever at 100,000 miles, it's included. But that's part of their package, and it's included for realsies free at Jody Wilkinson because Mike Hill. Functionary versus fiduciary.
Who wants to see her car?
It's so beautiful. You guys can see inside. Yeah, it's really, I do love it so much, by the way.
So that kind of covered, be the fiduciary, not the functionary. There's a lot of agents you see like that. I don't want any of them at Keller Williams. So
either.
It's true, fiduciary, I want all of them here because we know that that's gonna give us a really, really good reputation. I've had agents that I've stomped all over because all they cared about was getting to the finish line. They did not care about the client. I represent my clients, so I'm gonna be that nice bulldog and I'm gonna do whatever I need to do. But really at the end of the day, we try to do win-win or no deal, but that's where reading the other side comes into play. And you know, that guy obviously worked for the dealership. He was not there for you.
So you can't listen to a word I said from you.
Right. So,
and I think he was just like, oh, where's your husband to come buy your car? And I was like, no, I'm gonna buy a car today. Like I was driving to buy a car today. I don't have to. I don't buy it from you.
I despise salesmen. I do. It's really, really hard. It's really, really
He's
hard.
an excellent salesman and I loved him for it.
I'll be honest, the worst experience I ever had with a builder's agent. I Googled, I was looking him up. So what is this guy's deal? Used to be a used car salesman. I don't remember, but he made me real sketched out about a certain builder.
Yeah. Okay. I feel lost.
You can get through the review. Yeah. Okay.
Accountability partner. I am lost.
I was like, where are we at in our book? Okay, accountability. Everyone remembers we talked about accountability being one of our 6 personal perspectives, being highly accountable. So a couple things that I think are important in an accountability partner. I'm going to encourage you to pick an accountability partner in the room, because you can have an accountability partner that you already have that's part of your coaching or whatever, but I think there can be a different level. So an accountability partner becomes a safe place to share.
This I found.
I was like,
where
what
we are.
page are we
This
on?
is the daily success system, okay?
Okay, I was like, where are we at? I think we did get a little bit lost for a second.
We did.
But we're gonna cover this because I think it's really important. So accountability partner is somebody that knows your goals and is invested in them as well and is a safe place to share. And the reason I'm telling you to pick someone in the room is because there's gonna be a time where you maybe are going to be like, I don't feel like going to Ignite tonight. And you should call your accountability partner in your safe place and say like, I don't feel like going tonight. They're gonna say, show up, it'll be good, we'll sit together, I'll bring you an energy drink and we'll power through it. So choose an accountability partner, follow through with your action items. Those are part of like choosing an accountability partner, have your action items. And again, don't commit to something you're not gonna do. So if you're just not gonna do it, then don't call Gidget and say, Gidget, I'm gonna call 700 people by Friday. Because if I'm not gonna do that, now I'm making a promise and it's not gonna work. But if I say, I'm gonna commit that I'm gonna call 10 people every single day and I'm gonna connect with you on Friday to let you know that. Now I have an accountability partner, it's realistic. So follow through with your action items, listen and pay attention to while the other person shares. So don't be so focused. This is sometimes I see people and you guys, I can see it already as I'm saying something, I can see you starting to form your response. Because you want to respond to what I'm saying. You're not even listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Listen and pay attention to while the other person is sharing with you what their goals are for the week and why they're going to do that. And then set a frequency of checking in with each other. Some people may want a daily check-in. For some people, that might be too much, right? It might just be a quick text of, hey, how are you? How's it going this week? How are you doing on your systems? So whatever that looks like, make sure that you set that frequency and it's an expectation. If Jenny and I are accountability partners and I'm like, Jenny, I want you to check in with me at 9 a.m. to see if I did script practice. I want you to check in with me again at 2 p.m. to see if I made my calls. And then at 5 p.m. I want you to check in with me to see if I went on my appointment. And Jenny's idea of accountability is like, I want to connect on Friday and go through our 411 together. We are not a good accountability buddies. Okay, because Jenny does not want to be that
to pay me per hour.
Yeah, be like, whoa, girl, calm down. You can text me, but I'm not gonna reach out to you, right? So make sure you have a frequency of cadence of checking in. Dig deep, find out why you do what things you're gonna do. Respect each other and the process, and respect yourself in the process as well. And I think this is where it's important to know an accountability that maybe you're gonna connect well with. And it's okay, and that's why we'll encourage you to choose a different accountability buddy each week. Because if week to week, you're just like, we thought we were gonna be really good accountability buddies, and it turns out our schedules didn't line up or whatever, we're gonna respect each other in the process. We're gonna create a commitment, we're gonna stick to it. Be open to receiving feedback, and I will tell you, like peer-to-peer feedback sometimes can be hard to give. It can be really hard to receive as well. So with feedback, I always think it's important to ask, can I give you some feedback? If feedback's not welcome, you can't give it. So
She's seen
also-
that happen with me before. Not-
Yeah, I have seen it happen. I've seen it happen in a lot of situations. So you have to be open to receiving feedback. And then if you're going to give feedback, you need to be specific. And remember earlier when we talked about being solution-based, I think it's always really good to come with some solutions with your feedback, not just give feedback, good or bad. And I think you can give good feedback. I think you can give what could be considered constructive feedback or negative feedback, but it's going to help you grow. And so it might be like, hey, one thing that I've noticed is you're rushing through this part of the conversation. It might take some time. It might be better if you took some time to slow down and understand it better yourself so that you didn't feel uncomfortable delivering it to someone else. But that has to be something that I say, hey, Jesse, can I give you some feedback on that? And if Jesse says, no, that's okay. I'm going to put my feedback away because maybe she's not in a space to receive it, but be open to receiving feedback and know it comes from a place.
Right. Can I add to whoever your accountability buddy is, just, we all have bad days. One of the best pieces of advice I ever had was you can't pull someone out of the gutter if you're in there too. Okay, so you need to make sure you're there to encourage and lift each other up. And I think one of the best ways to do that is this cash right here, right? Keep that in mind, help the other person. We all have tough days, but don't stay in there because you're supposed to be there to lift each other up. Okay, the best friends, are the ones that you lean on and you lift each other up. You don't stay in that pity party together.
Right.
So make sure that happens.
In your book, you have on page 209 is the page, or 2.9 is where we talked through this. The next page in your pamphlet is not that. So it's here.
I feel like it's missing stuff.
2.1, I wonder if we hid some slides that for some reason. On page 2.1, it's gonna talk about your accountability. This is where you're gonna make a decision on who your accountability is gonna be. It doesn't have to be somebody in the room. So if you already have someone that you're like, hey, you know what, I actually have a daily conversation already, or I have a weekly, whatever it is, just make sure that you have that written down and that it's clear. Because if I ask, like if I ask my spouse, Jed is his name, if I ask Jed to be my accountability partner to working out, I need to be specific about what that means. Because that doesn't mean I want to get up at 5:30 with him and work out. That means I want to be able to be at the end of the day, like, hey, I did this, and what are we working on tomorrow? So be specific about when you're going to check in and make sure you have your accountability contact information. If you're interested in being an accountability buddy for somebody else, and Jesse, yes, I am gonna type that out because it is hard to see the board, you're right? So Cash Talk, I see you, I'll do that. But if you're interested in being accountability buddy, in the comments on chat, tell me, and then anybody who wants to be in the room, tell me, and then I can just put you guys together, or if you already have somebody, just know that that's an important piece of it. These are your accountability questions when you're meeting with them. How did you do? How do you feel about it? Do you have opportunities for improvement? How will you address those opportunities? What were your wins? How do you celebrate how will you celebrate your wins? Okay, so what are our opportunities? What are our wins for the day? We have an accountability sheet with the team leaders that I help to coach, and every day they track their attempt set calls, their actual conversations, their appointments set and their appointments held. And then one thing that's on that same sheet that they track that everybody can see that we are in our same group together, they track their wins for the day. And they also track if they have challenges for the day. And the reason we do this at the end of the day is because it's nice to be able to, at the end of the day, go, you know what, I had a hard day and here were my challenges. And you're getting it out and that's your challenges. But also there's going to be days where you're like, I crushed today. I crushed it. I hit my goals. I set the appointments. My conversations all felt really good. And you need to recognize those too as your wins. So even just keeping track of it, because I'm like, man, how powerful is this that if you have a day, sorry, I know we're over, you're good. If you have a day that you're like, man, I really struggled today, you can look back and go, well, what was the challenge? And how do I now prepare for that tomorrow? And you can prepare for it by looking at some of your other wins and being able to look back at those. So that's right here.
Right. I actually am a list, believe it or not. I'm a list person because I need to, I get so carried away. List. And it's like, what? I'm a list person. Because I get carried away in my day and I can sometimes tend to be really, really hard on myself. Just be like, man, I dropped the ball. I did that earlier today. It's really hard not to let your brain go down that spiral. So if you make a list of what you've done during the day, keep track of it on command and like on the spreadsheet, that will remind you what a kick butt person you are, right? And all the hard work that you are doing and keeps your chin up because eventually the numbers are going to come. So this is the last part. Daily success system. You have this in front of you. Have it as your reminders on your phone. It'll be really easy. There's the Google or the Apple Notes or whatever you want to do, checklist you need to do. Okay. How many 10 conversations, 10 contacts added, 10 handwritten notes, 10, 5, 1 social media.
That'll be introduced. You're not there yet. You're good with that?
Huh?
They don't have to do that yet.
Okay.
I know it's weird. It's right here. I don't know. It did the same thing in the first one. I was like, yeah, actually. Just interact with social media. This is actually 10 likes, 5 comments, 1 post. Is what that's for. So if you want to start working on it.
Yep. And so, Instagram and Facebook are completely different now.
Yep. And then enrichments are the 411 or any like extra handout that you get. That's going to be your enrichment for the day.
No. And this is what I was just talking about. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So, you know, that applies to everything. You got to treat your budget like this. You got to, you know where to best spend your money, know where to best spend your time. I have this group, just real quick, I had a group with agents that were from, across the country, and they were wanting to have this weekly call. We share knowledge with one another, and we help look at different different groups on Facebook, and we throw each other's name out there, we try to help each other. It got really annoying. Because my time was not best spent there, an hour every single week to maybe be able to send a lead to someone across the country when I'm like, dude, we're friends. I know I'm gonna send someone to you. But this is, so for me, I'm like, come on, can we adjust this group? Can we adjust it so we can still try to be a benefit for each other? And maybe just share on the page anyways. Needless to say, I haven't been on the call for the last 3-4 weeks because that is not where my time is best spent. My time is best spent on my friends or my clients that raise their hand and say, hey, I have a question. I just found this house and it's super cute. Can you tell me more about it? That's where my time's best spent. So be careful where you're spending your time.
We've already talked about Ford. This is just, so normally, like I said, in Ignite, we shorten this for you guys so that it doesn't take 6 hours twice a week. But remember, the part of Ignite is making your calls, having conversation. So this is just a reminder of the Ford conversation. The easy ways to chat with people, connect. Oh, now you can skip, but we can skip database. This is all we're gonna go into this stuff later. This is out of order.
It is.
That's what's happening. I was like, something's gone wrong here. And it's weird because we are perfect. We are. Yeah. So I don't know how anything's possibly gone wrong. I don't know what happened. But guys, guess what? Mindset matters. And we're out of time. So if anybody has to leave, we're gonna forgive you. But
because honestly,
if anybody disagrees that mindset matters, let's have a talk later because the stories you tell yourself in your head are very much real. And your brain will start to figure out a way to make things happen. And so your mindset's huge. Yeah. And now we're at a hot.
Wait, there's one more thing. This is important.
We already just did this.
Wait, it's doing it again.
This thing
in? Okay. So this will be at the end of each session, but we don't know why it's here twice.
Okay, well.
You know what, the thing is, this actually, we're gonna blame, remember we talked about earlier owning it? We're gonna own that we didn't actually roll through these slides because we've been through them a million times, but I'm gonna also say that Keller Williams needs to take some ownership. Because I didn't put these slides together myself.
So here's your checklist, 20 minutes every day, role play conversation with a partner. If there are a lot of top agents in here, they really don't mind helping you. You know, if you want to call and say, hey, how do I sound here? What does the conversation sound like? 10 minutes every day, prepare a calling list for that day. If it's helpful, maybe do it the night before when you're brain dumping. Empty out your brain, write down that honey-do list for yourself. 45 minutes real play or role play in the real world. This is making a contact and having conversation with as many people as possible. And the goal of establishing and nurturing a valued relationship so that when people are ready to buy or sell, they think of you first.
making the calls, 45 minutes making calls.
It's just like meeting people. There's a lot of things that I go and do and I enjoy. And you mingle with them and they ask, what do you do? And it comes up and you just be you be nice and don't be ashamed or shy about what you do and business will come. 30 minutes a day, update your database with information gathered from your conversations and follow up on the promises that you made. Do this immediately. As soon as you finish that call, make sure you do. I've created templates because I get sucked in.
Templates are great. Another good thing is just have command open when you're having a conversation with them. I'll add notes into my conversation because there's a note section in each person's contact card. And so, because I do quarterly calls, right? So then the next time that I call Melissa, I'll have her, because I have a VA that tells me when to call people, but I'll have, if you were on my list, it would pop up and then I would pull your contact card up like while I was talking to you and just have it open because then I know that you got a new kitten or you're, yeah, and it's like, oh, how's the new kitty? Last time we talked, you hadn't named it. What's the cat's name? Right? Like those little touches, the more conversations you have, the harder it is to remember every single person individually. So if you keep really good notes, it's going to be very beneficial. You don't have to do it in command, but you should, in my opinion. Why wouldn't you? And if you do it somewhere else, like I will keep it like you could put section, note section, and even in your phone if you want to. Just make sure if you share their contact, don't share the note section. Sometimes they share people's contacts with each other and you can delete the note.
Yeah,
little fun fact.
Just keep it simple, whatever you do. You don't need a million systems, but you do need a checklist system. Whatever works best for you, make sure you do it. And then of course,
that system is one thing.
You're gonna hear this 2 million times. in sales meetings and stuff like that. There is a do not call list. They're already your friend. Obviously, you have their phone number. Do not ever see your friends as a paycheck. But make sure that they are very aware of what you do for a living and keep them informed.
Really quick, Jenny, just because we have some new people, so if anybody's not aware of what this is, you're gonna hear this referred to a lot in every single team meeting and almost every meeting you have. You're gonna hear me say, make sure you're making your calls in a TCPA friendly compliant way. TCPA is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Just so you know, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act also goes with email and text. So if someone unsubscribes and tells you to stop contacting them, that doesn't mean you can text them. They've asked you to be removed from their contacts. Also, let's say that someone unsubscribes from an email, that's different. So if I send, Kelly, if I send you an email and you unsubscribe at the bottom of my email because you're like, I don't want to get these. I've had this happen where I had like my SOI gets all my events, and one of my clients unsubscribed to my Cookies with Santa, which was an event like that was going out several things, and they unsubscribed to it. So it gives you a notice that they unsubscribed. They weren't on the TCPA list, but if they tell you to stop contacting them, you have to. And so I actually called her because I was like, whoa. So I called her and I was like, Kelsey, you unsubscribed, which is totally fine. I just want to understand better. Is it my emails that are bothering you? Is it, and she's like, oh no, I just don't have kids and I didn't want to come to Santa. So I thought that was just for the Santa. I just didn't want to receive emails anymore about Santa. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Because by unsubscribing, it unsubscribed you from everything. So then I was able to resubscribe her to like her neighborhood nurture report and the newsletters and stuff like that that I send out. And I just put a note that said she does not want to be in the States.
Right. So that being said, I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and the people are happy to be in relationship with me.
This is an affirmation you can say prior to making your calls. One affirmation that I use that's really easy is just, I have the exact message someone needs. And I just say that before I get on the call, before I get on the phone. I have the exact message someone needs here today. So if I call Jessie and Jessie is mean to me, which she never would be, but if I call her, she's not the person that needs to hear my message.
Yeah.
That was not my person. And then I can say to myself, oh my gosh, I have the exact message someone needs to hear today. So I gotta call somebody else because I have the exact message someone needs to hear today.
Yep.
But this is just an affirmation. It's in your book that you can use as you're getting on the call. I think everything else will just be stuff on our TV today because these are role plays.
Yep. Okay.
So this is, again, if we were doing the 10-hour class, this is what you would do.
Region conversations. These are the steps I went through earlier. Update contacts and follow-ups, 30 minutes. Celebrate successes. I played hard, I worked hard. That's work hard. We have command and we have connect. These are both systems that you guys will be learning how to use within Keller Williams. They're awesome.
And then our next session is Thursday. And it's Allison and Mikhail. And it's going to be connecting with your market. And number 4 is define your value, which is a fun one. Okay. So that's on Thursday. Connect with your market, define your value. Done. Okay, thank you guys so much for staying. I need 3 ahas and then you can leave if you want. We're gonna do this. And anyone online, Dan, thank you. I'm excited to see you next week too. Jared, no problem. I got it. You guys had to leave.
You want to enter the cap?
I did.
Okay.
Just a quick reminder, someone asked what CASH stands for. Knowledge, attitude, skills, habits.
I like that. That's a good aha.
Good.
One of my big ahas, there's a million, was using AI, like get in and.
Heck yeah.
I love that too. And there's sometimes like someone was like, we'll just throw it in ChatGPT and come up with something better. And I was like, why do I forget about using AI? Like, what are the top 10 things that a buyer needs to know? Throw it in AI. And I like AI too, because if it's too, like, if you read it, it's too long. I'm like, shorten it. Like I was doing some work on my bio and I was like, okay, I needed a longer version of it for something that I had to submit for, but then I was like, shorten my bio and make it like funner, like make it sound more fun. And so like it shortened it to this time and it's really, I love that. Using AI, really good. Love it. Good aha. Yours was cash talk. By the way, cash talk can be with anything. You're having just like, can be with I do cash talks with my kids. They just don't even know it because I'm like sneaky about it. Like, so did you not understand? Like, did you not know that was part of your after school course? Like, I'm just really confused on that. You didn't know that? Is that, did you not know how to do it, right? So cash talk, oh, use it all the time. Just like roll through their head there. Those are 2 ahas, any other ahas, I'll take more than 3, but I have to have at least 3 or Jenny and I are never gonna be able to teach again. In fact, it's a rule.
So please don't say any more ahas.
Jenny, you did great. Jenny, can I come up and share all the details? But you guys, Jenny, right before she had to come teach, did she do a great job? Yes. Well, before Jenny had to teach today, I could see her standing over there and I could tell she was not doing awesome. And we had a little like moment of, she wasn't sure that like based on her day, that she was ready to be here and she had some other things going on. And you know what? She showed up in a big way. So thank you for keeping your commitment and being awesome.
Yeah.
So good job.
That's my, I wasn't feeling it today either, because Jenny showed up actually.
Yes. Good, aha. You guys, your mindset is more than anything. And sometimes it's just getting like, you guys have heard of a pattern interrupt? Pattern interrupt yourself. You're in a funk. You don't want to go. You just got off work. You're like driving here. You're thinking, I just really kind of want to freaking pull through and get a delicious taco and go home and get in my jammies, right? Like my feet hurt. I want to put my feet up. Pattern interrupt yourself. Change your environment. Stand up, walk around. You'll hear me often. I'm like, ooh, get this shit out of here. I like snap the energy in the air. I used to do it. I didn't even know I was doing it. And I would just do it subconsciously. And Alex and I, when we worked together at the other building, she's like, every time you work down, there was a certain hallway. She's like, every time you come out of the hallway, you're like snapping. And I'm like, I do snap a lot. And then I'm like, I realized there was a team that was in a specific space in the building that had really crappy energy. And every time I walked out of it, it was like, I was so drained. And I was like, I gotta change my energy up before I walk back in to see other people. So I'm glad that was your fun. And I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Good job. Battle. That's such a lesson anyway. In this industry, showing up is half of the battle. So tell yourself, it doesn't matter if you don't want to do it, show up anyway. Do it anyway. Showing up's half the battle. So congratulations for being here today. Nice job. Okay, anyone else, anything you want to share? We're here for you. Our info's up here in the chat online. I put it in there as well.
Rusty, I don't think this has your email. It's like that's all you and it.
Rusty at United, oh, it's .biz. Oh my gosh. Wow.
And is it Rusty? Oh, nice.
Yeah, too easy.
What do I do with the duck?
RUSSI.
That's back there.
But I don't know my name now. That's my only .biz. So Rusty at United Agent Services .biz.
Rusty with 2. So,
You don't want to. It's just only one E.
I mean, is it really?
It's just one E. If you
Like Rusty and
yeah, but mine just goes, so Rusty E will also get to me, but I made them cut out that E because I'm like, that's stupid. There's the reason that you'll see like a Sean J is because if there was ever another Sean in an organization, guys, there's not gonna be another Rusty in the organization. Like, like a common name is flying off the shelves. So it's just Rusty from United. But if you send it to Rusty, I think it will get to me.
that's another one you're contract.
Did you send it or is it a .biz or .com?
And as long as you got it.
Okay, perfect. I'm
couple times. I'm gonna do this one thing. So
we're here for you. If you guys need anything.
We're here.
If you, buddy, I'm gonna have you come put your name right up here.
Okay, so here's the first.
So if I run in and
I make sure
make
I
sure like.
Put your name and your phone number.
So I think I've
So I do a little bit about myself, I tell, you know, here's.
But so you put her into exam, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then you created an opportunity.
Caitlin, yes, I will. I got her email. Okay, so Bill send it to you. I can tell you normally I send it when you come to class, just because it's like there's pieces of it you need to make sure to get, but I didn't send it, but I'll use that twice a month. So sometimes it's me and Allison, sometimes it's Sean and Allison. Okay, accountability, write your name on the board.
No, for me, I go with an iPad and I bring
Is there a
the nature agreement, buyer agreement, I bring that with me. Because I feel like if I'm sitting with them,
I did this.
or signing in,
Tag.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, they automatically populate, so you have to go ahead and do it.
Taking care of it. I do not take for buyers or. Yeah, first one. Thanks, you guys. Good luck. Finish this week. Test next.
All right. And then her daughter, her husband. Okay.